It is Off the Podium, the Olympics podcast of 2026 and 1908. We cover 118 years at least, and we're going to cover 118 more because that's how long at least some of us are going to, well, none of us are going to make it even half that, let's be honest. We'll be lucky if we make it. I've lived since the games of 1908 London. Great memories, fond memories of this. And we get to go all the way back in time and talk about the 6 months of another World's Fair or a mini World's Fair or something along those lines. And we're all back here today, including what would Jamie Lyko do?
I'm excited to be here to talk about foggy London town.
And also joining us today is a man hunting some hobbits and
Ghastly rabbits.
some wascally wabbits. Ben Waterworth.
Yes, I'd like to point out that this is officially my first ever episode of recording with braces and a mouth extender. And also I just want to point out, since it's been put in my mouth, I've not really spoken much. So this will be a fun episode to get me to say all the S's, and I will celebrate in sexy time.
Let's just figure out how many S's we could
I'm
work
glad we're
into
not
the
doing
conversation
Stockholm,
today.
1912. We're only doing London, not Stockholm. Or
Stockholm,
St.
Sweden.
Louis. St. Louis would have been difficult. Athens, Chamonix, St. Moritz. You think I'm putting that on? Half of that is like true. Sydney.
No, that one doesn't work.
Atlanta. Squaw Valley. Oh,
Los Angeles.
please have these when we do Squaw Valley, Phil.
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake, yeah. How come we couldn't have had this when we recorded our Salt Lake episode the other day? But 1908 London, it's we're still, I guess, in the, I'm not going to say complete transitional phase. Well, I guess it's transitional. We're sort of taking, last time during the intercalated games, we took a step forward and we're taking like a quarter step back, I would say, because we're still going back to the old World Games. Let's hold over 6 months. But I feel like in comparison to the World Games ones that we had, in 1900 and 1904, this one just seems to have been generally regarded as a typical Olympics. And I can hardly fault them for the World Games thing because, we'll kind of talk about the reasoning why it came in. And all things considered, I feel like London, pulled off your traditional Olympics. Any thoughts, Jamie, first with you that you, as going back through this, you did some research and found some things new, found some things that you were reminded of?
I looked at, I went back and looked because it's stretched out so far, and I tried to tally the events, and even though there were some outliers, they did most of the events in an 8-week period, which is still obviously long, but then they just had some crazy ones. They had to wait till they could have ice to do figure skating, and I don't know, for the premiership season to end so they could use the stadiums for rugby. But the majority of it was still kind of compact. I still think it's hilarious. I think that, I don't know how many more there are like this, but the fact that you went to the Olympics at the Olympic Stadium and the track went around the swimming pool and where they did diving, and all of that was going on all at once. And
archery. Everyone's getting shot at, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you run a track race, you're all right, maybe I'll get hit with a javelin, but you're not worried about a stray arrow.
Yeah. I think some of the things that this, I guess, pioneered as far as Olympics go. And the main one you mentioned, the stadium, this is, I think, the first time that a full venue was really built specifically for this. And we've had other, smaller venues and stuff like that. But I mean, they're usually holding these in clubs or pre-existing stadiums, or not even a stadium at all, a fairgrounds or whatever it is. But having a central location for all this, I think that's one of the other things that doesn't make this feel as much like the World Games, where it's it's going to be in, tent whatever over there next to the pie eating contest. They have this massive stadium built for this, huge, 60 to 70,000 seater. And then other things, even though I think the intercalated games, we did mention they had an actual opening ceremony sort of we get like a full parade of nations with flag bearers for the first time. So we are stepping towards this feeling like the first ever Olympics. Ben, any things that stood out for you kind of reading through this?
I mean, this will be the last time that you really have kind of this spread out games as well, because we will have the more condensed one. But like as sort of Jamie said, it's sort of more unique in the fact that, yeah, a lot of these events were kind of later just because of reasons. This wasn't because, let's just rock up in October and, let's add this to the Olympic program, basically. So, I mean, this is notable on many reasons on what Colin was saying. It's a lot more structured. We had, I think, the first time I've read that we've had a documented budget for an Olympic Games as well. This is the first time we had bids. Because obviously, I'm sure you'll touch on, Colin, we know this London wasn't meant to have these games, of course. And I think that's even more impressive to think that they've had this stadium. They've come together pretty quickly to put this all together. And there's obviously a lot of issues with these games, namely judging and things like that obviously led to a lot of controversies. And I'm sure a certain American on this show will be talking a lot about that. But yeah, I think kind of as we're gradually getting with these Olympics, we're really into that period now where the things that we are used to today and associate so much with what a structure of an Olympics are, we're really forming that now. This, as Colin said, the opening ceremony, the flags, we're nearly at the first flame. We're nearly at the Olympic rings. Like, these are things that we're going to be discovering over the next few Olympics. And this is kind of, I guess, like the transitional phase that is really setting the stone for what the modern Olympic Games are now known as.
Yeah, and we do have to touch on it. I mean, we're going to touch on it throughout this as well. But these meant to have been the Rome Games. It would be a couple decades before Rome would ever get the Olympics again. Little thing called Mount Vesuvius kind of put a wrench in their plans. But the bidding process was done, and we're used to these modern times where the bids are done a decade or so before the games are held, or if it's nowadays, I don't know, 5 years before the games are supposed to take place, when somebody finally raises their hand and says we'll do it. But having a bid process, and really only 2 years before this, or I guess 4 years before this. So at the time of like the 1904 games, they had 3 cities that were in contention for this. Rome was one, or 4 cities. So Rome was one. London was one of the other ones. Berlin and Milan. All those cities are going to eventually get Olympics. It would take 100 or so years for one of them to get it. But Rome being selected, I can't really find, unless either of you found it, I can't really find a lot of information if there was anything that, weighed it in their favor for Rome getting it. Do either of you know anything?
Yeah, I couldn't have a look. It's basically, from what I saw with the bid process, little is known about kind of, the point system and everything like that. It was just given to Rome. I find it fascinating that you had 2 Italian cities bidding against each other. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, what we have now is generally the NOC will select it and then they will go to the final table. Whereas this is obviously a case of, let's put them up against each other. This would have been like, if Boston had kept their bid alive for 2028 and then they, literally go to the final IOC session up against LA, like, you wouldn't hear of that today. So, but that's a good point you make, actually, that all of those cities go on to host Olympic Games now that Milan obviously has just done that. So, yeah, I wish I mean, I don't know, Jamie, if you do, but from what I could see, basically there's no real information about this bidding process and how it was chosen.
I didn't find anything about that. No. Yeah, but yeah.
The one thing I do wonder is because, obviously Mount Vesuvius explodes and there's a shift in where we're going to hold this. So London, I guess, as either would have been the next highest on the bids, or was the one who just simply said, hey, we've got enough time to put this together. They have to pull this together in about 18 months. Just the building of the White City Stadium alone is kind of crazy that it was done in a little over a year to a year and a half, and that they have how many events held there. But I wonder about when there was still the bid process 4 years earlier. Was the Franco-British exhibition, their smaller version of the World Games, was that already meant to be held then? And would the Olympics have actually coincided with that? Because, I mean, we know that, Pierre Coubertin was not high on the whole World Games idea or whatever, but I would think that Franco-British exhibition probably is in the planning stages for a while before that. I'm actually just seeing here. So the previous ones were held in 1904. And this is literally just England and France. So it's not really a World's Fair. I mean, it acts the same as a World's Fair. But yeah, I would think that they probably had this in the planning stages. And in a weird way, I feel like that's almost a forgotten thing about these games, because we always hear about the World's Fairs of 1900 and 1904. You don't often hear about this. And maybe it is because so many of the events were held in this one stadium. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting point. I don't know. I think it's, kind of always unique to kind of hear about these things and kind of just look at that. But 18 months is crazy to think that they can put that together, right? Like it's, we always hear now in the lead up to the Olympics, oh, Milan's not ready, LA's not ready, Brisbane's not ready. Oh, back up. And I famously remember Rio. It might have been, surely it was less than a year, but I do remember John Coates at the time being like, Melbourne is the backup option. Rio can possibly not host this, and Melbourne can put their hand up tomorrow and host the Olympics. And
look at the hockey in Milan.
Yeah, well exactly.
Down the wire,
exactly. Yeah. So to think that this was more than a century ago with limited technology compared to what we've got to today, and that they can do this and do it in 18 months. Like, I mean, again, imagine if, based on the world situation right now, the US have to pull out of hosting LA. And we're still at the time recording this, got 2 years to go. Yeah, you probably would have legitimate cities out there who could easily host them. I'm not saying they couldn't, but you're not going to build a new stadium in 18 months, are you?
Yeah,
it's sort of it's things like that. So, it's insane to think what they did to pull this off.
I think the comparison to the World's Fair, like I still have to believe that like at this time, the World's Fair or the Franco-British Exposition is a way bigger deal than the Olympics still, so the expectations were lower. They're like, all right, maybe we get half the stadium built, whatever, but I feel like it was still, kind of like they were having like a county fair. Yeah. That's what the Olympics were compared to, the World's Fair or the Franco-British Exposition.
Yeah. Yeah. The Olympics are the side attraction really during that time period. And I wonder at what point we're going to get to the point where it's like, well, the Olympics are the big deal, and everybody, who's coming there. We're going to go through some of the events of that year, some of the key figures of that year. Let's start off with the name we've already heard, Teddy Roosevelt. We've talked about him a couple times now. Jamie, we've talked about enough, but is there anything significant of the year 1908 for Teddy Roosevelt we need to touch on?
Well, just that if these games ended on, I think, October 31st like he was literally like 4 days away from being the only American president he's the only American president, I think, to be president for 3 Olympics, if we're counting the intercalated games,
which we should.
And he was like, yeah. And so if, election day in the United States is the first Tuesday of November, he was days away from being president for 4 Summer Olympics.
Wow.
Which is,
good for him. That's why there should be more teddy bears out there to celebrate him.
His cousin, who was president for 12 and a half years, was really only saw 2 Olympic games because,
cancellations,
World War II. Yeah. Or summer games. I guess, by then they had the winter games, but no.
It's interesting because... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say William Howard Taft came along and he, whatever. He strengthened the Supreme Court, but whatever. He was boring.
All right, shut up. My turn to talk. But on the flip side of that, Sir Wilfrid Laurier, the Canadian Prime Minister we've talked about over and over again, this is the year where he wins his final election. And by the time we get to 1912, he won't be in office for the first time. Really, for the first time in any Olympic year, because I think in 1896, he was elected after those Olympics ended, but he was there for 1900, 04, 06, 08. So if we count the fact that he was, prime minister during the 1896 Olympics, he was there during all those years at least. But this will be the last time we get to talk about Mr. $5 bill guy for a while. Ben, I have a very important question for you. So your prime minister at the time, or the one that came out, are either of those guys on any of these dollar bills?
Well, I'll answer that in 2 ways. One, Australians don't really know who are on our money. Like, it's one of these stupid pub trivia where they'll say, like, who's on the $50 bill? Like, we know what they look like. We know the color of the bill. Can I tell you who it is? No. So they could be, but I don't think they are because, again, I don't think they're very notable prime ministers. I don't actually think any of our prime ministers are on any of our money. Somebody might correct me on that. But point is, I'll say no. Was there another question there, or you want
to say anything about Alfred Deakin?
Oh, I will. Yes. So Deakin, we talked about him a little bit intercalated, but he has this like little musical chairs moment now with Andrew Fisher because from what I'm reading here, Deakin, who was a member of the Liberal Party, he basically had a coalition formed with the Labor Party, which then fell apart at the end of 1908. So then Deakin resigned. Andrew Fisher stepped in to form a minority government that lasted for about 6 months. And then Deakin came back into power in 1909 and then lost the election to Fisher in 1910, to which we will talk about Fisher again apparently in 1912. So basically for the next 4 years, these two just played who wants to be prime minister next. I know nothing about Andrew Fisher except he's got a very white person's name. And apparently he's regarded as the first ever Labor Prime Minister of Australia. So the weird political system in Australia where our Liberal Party is kind of our version of the Republicans and Labor is our version of the Democrats. It's the best way to describe it, even though they're called Liberals. But yes.
I'm so confused.
I know, right? So, and of course, we're a country that adds U's to our name. Like Labor should be spelt with a U, but for some reason, the Australian Labor Party is spelt the American way, Labor. Go figure. But our current Prime Minister, Mr. Anthony Albanese, is in the Labor Party. So I guess Andrew Fisher was historical as our first ever Labor Prime Minister, and we've got a Labor Prime Minister today. So maybe I'll do some more research ahead of Stockholm to learn more about Mr. Fisher. I'm
looking at a lot of your dollar bill characters, if you want to call them that. And yeah, you don't use a lot of politicians. There was one I found here who was like a premier. What is it? Sir Henry Parkes.
I've heard the
Australian.
Name.
Yeah. But Canada's slowly moving towards that way too. Like I think, I don't know if it's just going to be like on some dollar bills, but I know Terry Fox is going to be getting on some of our money soon. So Wilfrid Laurier may not be maybe a thing of the past.
I think the issue, and I don't know if it's a Canadian issue too, but we've always had an issue in our country of actually learning Australian history properly. Like a lot of people will often know more about American history or like British history than they do about our own history. And this is literally an issue with prime ministers. We had 2001, it was our 100th anniversary of Federation when we, technically became a country. And they did this ad where they were basically going like, how much do people know about Australian history? So they went around the streets of Australia and they're like, who's the first president of the United States? Oh, George Washington. And then they go, who was the first prime minister of Australia? And everyone's like, and like, that was the day I learned it was Edmund Barton. So there you go. Like, nobody knows that. So this is what I'm saying. People would know more about Teddy Roosevelt in Australia than they would about Andrew Fisher and Alfred Deakin. No word of a lie.
What was the name that somebody thought Dale Big Smith looked like? I want to call him Phil. Was that what it was?
Oh, yeah. Wild Dingo Bill or something like that, wasn't it? Yeah. But so that's what, with the money aspect, like I know there's a famous Indigenous guy on one of them. There's like, I think the lady,
yeah.
I think did she invent penicillin or something? There are important figures of Australian history who we sort of know, but I couldn't. I know the Queen was on the $5 bill and Banjo Patterson is on the $10 bill. Very famous.
I saw it in Banjo Patterson. Yeah.
Yes. So that's all I can tell you, Colin.
Jamie, do you only have politicians on American money?
Yes. George
Bush.
God, I can't remember the last time I had cash. George Abraham. Shit, who's on the goddamn $10 bill?
Is Andrew Jackson one of them?
Andrew Jackson might be in there. That's just embarrassing. But like, yeah, I cannot remember the last time. Now that I don't bartend anymore, I can't remember the last time I've had cash.
The answer would be
Ulysses S. Grant's on the 50.
Trump will be on all of them in like 5 years.
He's going to just be on all of them. In the next few years, he's just going to be on all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Him and Epstein.
Oh. Don't say that name. They'll start another war.
Speaking of money, how much was a liter of milk worth back in 1908? 2 to 3 pence in pre-decimal currency, or 4 to 6 cents USD. a liter of petrol or gasoline or whatever you want to call it, 5 to 7 pence, or 10 cents to 14 cents. Super Bowl winner, no Super Bowl yet. We're going to be a couple decades away from the Super Bowl. Stanley Cup winner, Montreal Wanderers. But I was going to say but I'll let you take it.
Oh no, you would say but then.
No, I got no but. I was just trying to steal your thunder.
But the Chicago Cubs won the World Series in 5 games, and that's an important fact.
Why don't we have that?
They would not win it again until 2016.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's insane. I think we put Super Bowl just because it was more of a case of what's the biggest sporting trophy in our country, and I think nowadays it's the Super Bowl. So I think obviously it doesn't start to the 60s. So I think that's why we've got it there. So
yeah, we can talk about it in Mexico City but we don't have to bring it up until then.
Yeah.
All I think with the Cubs is the Cubs win the World Series against Miami.
Who would have thought? If I could go back in time and place $1 on the Cubs,
put some money on the Cubs. Yeah. Montreal Wanderers Stanley Cup winner. I mean, we're still during that era where the Stanley Cup would be defended, 2 or 3 times a year. Montreal Wanderers, I found, actually had a 2-year run where even though the Stanley Cup was contested 2 to 3 times a year, they went unbeaten from 1907 till 1909. So they're I'm going to call them the first Stanley Cup dynasty here. I don't know much else about the Montreal Wanderers. But Ben, the AFL grand final winner, Carlton.
Get on board it. This was
Something's wrong here.
That was to point this out. This is, I think, our most successful period in our history, which is weird saying that now because we suck at the moment. This was our 3rd consecutive premiership. So in the intercalated games, we won our first, and this is now our 3rd consecutive. I think it's the only time we've ever won 3 in a row, and we beat our arch rivals Essendon, who still exists to this day, in an incredibly low-scoring game, 5-5-35 to 3-8-26. That is paltry score compared to what you get today, but in front of 50,000 people at the MCG, the venue of the 1956 Olympics. So get on board, my mighty Blues, when we used to be able to win championships about 100 and how all those years ago.
How many more years is it going to be before we talk about them again?
So let's see here. Do we win in any other Olympic year? We don't win. It looks like we don't really win in Olympic years, it seems. So no.
One and done for Ben's Carlton Blues.
Seriously, we don't. I'm looking at all the. I mean, we hold the record for most equal most. We don't win in another Olympic year till 1968, the Super Bowl one. So there you go. So we win in between hand. We just don't win in an Olympic year. So until 1968. So it was fun while it lasted.
I'm going to enjoy talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs winning at some point. This podcast
and they're not for the rest of the the future.
It'll happen. It'll happen to Buffalo before it happens to the Leafs. Number 1 song, no official songs, but popular song. This was probably sung when the Chicago Cubs won. Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Published in 1908. Wow.
That's the Cubs started that tradition. Like if you go online, you can find Will Ferrell singing it and Bill Murray and Harry Carey, the famous announcer, would sing it there. But like they kind of put "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" on the map. They sing it at the 7th.
And then there was the Super Bowl shuffle, so it's a big Chicago thing.
Super Bowl shuffle.
The Super Bowl shuffle.
Because Chicago does everything.
I had that 45. I had the 45 of the Super Bowl shuffle. Yeah.
Is it so it's the 7th inning they played, is it, Jamie? Because I always remember when you go to the game.
7th inning stretch.
That's right. This is what I love about baseball.
Have you been to Wrigley?
I've not been to Wrigley. The one time I went to Chicago, I didn't see a game. I've seen the Cubs play in San Diego, and I saw the White Sox play in New York. But not to Wrigley, and not to the whatever the crappy White Sox stadium is where you're not meant to like deviate from your course, otherwise you'll get stabbed. So
Kaminsky.
Yeah, very dangerous area apparently in the city. So yeah,
stay out of the South Side.
Yep. I loved it though when I went to see the White Sox play at the at Yankee Stadium, and I'm wearing my White Sox jersey. All the people walk past me going South Side and like give me fist bumps. And I'm like, I'm just going to agree with them because I'll probably get shot if I don't. So
no albums exist yet, so no albums chart. No box office for movies, but the assassination of the Duke of is it Guise or Guise?
I'd say Guise.
How would you pronounce that?
I'd say Guise.
Does anybody know about the Duke of Guise, the assassination? Who killed him? Can you spoil the ending?
I mean, he got shot or murdered, so he mustn't have been liked. I don't know. Is that a spoiler of the movie, the assassination, or is it like one of these?
Yeah, guys, I haven't seen it. Don't spoil the ending for me.
Or maybe it's
the blank of the Duke of Guys. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. A French film I'm seeing here, directed by Charles Le Bargy.
Charles Le French.
And it was one of the most successful films made by the company Le Film d'Art. I mean, that just sounds like some person's gone to ChatGPT. Give me the name of a French company. Le Film d'Art. It's about King Henry III and his powerful rival Duke Henry de Guise.
Of course.
There you go. Yep.
Populations. We really should be comparing this and just seeing whether we're adding or subtracting.
Who's having a lot of sex in between?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I can't wait for the baby boom to see the number spike there. The world population 1.75 billion. Australia's population 4.2 million. Half of them behind bars. Canada's population 7.2 million.
Wait a minute, what's with the convict bloody jabs here?
It's funny because I was going through who's on your dollar bills, and these were like from the original ones, right? We're talking like, I don't know, early 1900s. And one of them was a former Australian convict that was on your dollar bill. Which we have one of those here, Louis
In all
Riel.
fairness, it was 1908. We were 7 years old, and probably the majority of us were still criminals sent from the UK. So, okay, fine. Fair enough.
We gotta put on this. This is gonna be like American dollar bills with Epstein and Trump in a few years.
At least our crimes weren't like raping kids and just were stealing loaves of bread. Like, I mean, you know.
Canada's population 7.2 million. U.S. population 90 million. Now, I have a bit of. We're gonna go through the big world events here. I have a bit of a bone to pick with a famous Canadian for this first one that we have listed here. The Tunguska event, or Tunguska, but I'm going to call it Tunguska, which was a massive explosion in Siberia, which I think later was determined to be like not an asteroid impact, but like an asteroid that literally broke up inside the atmosphere. That was 1908. Now, I saw this in here, and I'm like, no. I saw Ghostbusters, and I distinctly remember Dan Aykroyd saying, "You've been part of the biggest crossover dimensional rift since the Tunguska event of 1909. Said it very distinctly in that movie. And I'm like, no, it was 1909. I look it up, I'm like, it was 1908. Dan Aykroyd, you lied. You lied in Ghostbusters. This is sacrilegious. How did he get that wrong?
Come on.
Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd said that?
Yeah, that's.
I don't know why I remember Egon saying that, but yeah, okay.
It was right as they're covered with all the marshmallows, and he's talking to Rick Moranis, and he's like, "You very fortunate individual. You've been a part of the biggest dimensional crossover since the Tunguska event of 1909." And Rick Moranis just went, "Sounds great," but how did Dan Aykroyd get that wrong? This is a well-educated man here.
He's too drunk on his whiskey or whatever he's selling, or vodka. What does he sell now? Like some alcohol?
The skull.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Ford Model T launched, which revolutionized the mass car production.
Very famous
Ben,
car.
you're a big car guy.
All I know about that is that basically set the tone for what like the standard domestic car is. That was like the most iconic sort of car probably ever built in history. So yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it is as equally important as it at least in the United States, it like defined what an assembly line was. So like it had impact beyond just car manufacturing. It was like we finally we figured out how to be an industrial country here with I'm trying to think the assembly line.
I don't think there was a biopic on Henry Ford, but I know I saw that in a movie. Like it was a dramatized movie about the first assembly line and everything, and Henry Ford in it. I wish I could remember what that movie was.
Michael.
I think it was Ghostbusters.
It was Ghostbusters, yeah. Dan Aykroyd, even more false information. Happened in 1909 as well. The foundation of the FBI, but at the time was the Bureau of Investigation of the United States.
Big leadership today, isn't it, in the FBI? Great.
Yeah.
Related to the Olympics, they party in the locker rooms when USA win gold, so you know.
That hurt.
Bring back Mulder and Scully.
Canberra was chosen as the capital of Australia.
Say that again, Colin.
Canberra,
otherwise known as Canberra. But
okay.
I like to go to Ottawa.
Well, sorry, I'll find you something with an S in it to correct your pronunciation.
Canberra. Which can I touch on that? Because there's a similar thing.
Yeah, no, go for it. Yeah,
it's like it's very similar to I guess Washington D.C., where it was. If I'm not mistaken, Jamie, please correct my American knowledge of your chosen capital city, but it was sort of debate over which city should be the capital. So they then basically formed a separate area to shut people up. So it was a similar thing in Australia where Melbourne technically was the capital of Australia. Sydney were like, no, we want to be the capital. So like, all right, no, let's stop fighting about it. We'll build a completely new place in between both of you. And I'd just like to point out that Canberra is about 2 hours from Sydney and about 10 hours from Melbourne. So clearly the middle ground there really worked out well. But it's a okay city, I would say. It's fine.
It's okay. That's on its slogan, right? It's entering Canberra.
Just like Ottawa and Washington.
We're an okay city.
Yeah. I mean, you know how like Washington, D.C. and Ottawa are considered like, oh, very, government base and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. I've been to both Ottawa and Washington. At least you've got like history and it feels there with monuments and stuff like that. Canberra's just got a building and a tower and lots of grass. So it's.
I will say though, like Ottawa, the downtown area, very historic and very Ottawa. Busy. You go 10 minutes out of downtown and you're like, is there a city anymore? Like what happened? Where did it go?
That's like DC. DC is quite nice as well.
I have two Canadian ones that I found here, and I don't know if either of you have any other major events of that time period. The Royal Canadian Mint opened in Ottawa. Is
that the one we went to? Oh no, I went to that one. The Winnipeg. And I went to the one with you. I went to two. Winnipeg. That's right. Yeah.
There's two mints in Canada. I don't know when the Winnipeg one opened, but the first one was the one in Ottawa that opened that year. And one of the most famous, I could even say worldwide book series of all time, Canadian book series, Anne of Green Gables was published for the first time in 1908. Yeah, I remember we've had like so many different Anne of Green Gables TV shows and everything here. I don't think I ever read a book. It's one of these things where half the people have a copy of Anne of Green Gables on their shelf anywhere. Jamie, any other major events you know of?
First ever ball drop in Times Square on New Year's Eve.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Cool. Have you done that, Jamie?
Did it make it to the bottom?
I did the Millennium.
Oh, wow. Yeah. What was that like?
We didn't get we didn't. I was in New York for it. We were at this party. My buddy who went to Northwestern in Chicago, not South Side. Someone he went to school with threw a party uptown in Manhattan. And we skinned out and tried to get as close as we could, took pictures with cops and everything. And everybody was kind of slightly pretending that maybe we weren't all 100% convinced that Y2K wasn't going to end the world. So so when it didn't, we were happy.
I did the one, not last year, the year before, and stood in line for 13 hours wearing an adult diaper, but I got in and I had a great time. And I would never do it again, but it was worth the one time I did it. So got the hat.
Is that the year where it was like cold and rainy too?
It was. By the time I got into Times Square, I think it was 9:30. Got a very good view when you get into your little cattle pen. And then the storm started because I was behind TLC. They were performing that night, and Sophie Ellis-Bextor.
You had this view.
I did, far away. Basically, and it started pissing down with rain and storming, but we didn't care. So, it was worth it, but never again.
Ben, any other major events you have to touch on?
I've got an Australian history book, and really the only key one I found was that Canberra was chosen as the capital. It wasn't really that special, 1908 for Australia. So, yeah.
Well, we got some big names who were born in 1908.
Yeah.
But only one that matters. Let's talk about His Majesty, his worship, Ian Fleming.
Oh, Ian. Sir Ian?
Maybe the greatest man who ever lived, we can call him.
Did he get knighted? Was he Sir Ian Fleming? Did he ever get knighted?
Good question.
I don't think he did. Maybe I'm making that up. He should have been knighted. Come on.
He was great in the X-Men movies. I really liked him.
Really good.
So he was knighted, but he's not a sir? How does that work? Oh, no, he was never knighted. Never mind.
Right. I was about to say.
Yes. Sorry. But yeah, he should be. I mean, author of James Bond, greatest man who ever lived, created the greatest thing that ever existed. And that includes the Olympics. But also Lyndon B. Johnson, who will be president for
massive
one
penis.
Of these. No, he won't even be president, will he?
No, he's president for two.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, because it was 63 for JFK's assassination. Yeah, and then
he
the
was
election year
assassinated in
was
63. So yeah, he was 64 and 68.
Big Dick Johnson.
Summer Olympics, and then
Ben, is there a reason you keep saying Big Dick?
Well, that's why. Don't you know why the nickname for a penis is called a Johnson? Is because apparently Lyndon B. Johnson famously had a large penis. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, it's apparently so that's what, like, similar how like a teddy bear is called that because after Theodore Roosevelt. Apparently, the whole notion of a penis being called a Johnson is down to him having an extremely large penis.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I've never heard that.
You're welcome.
Okay,
I bring the penis facts.
We know there's 2 books Ben owns: History of Australia and Big Penis Facts by Lyndon Johnson.
Either that or he just had very good people who spread out very big rumors. Trump needs the same people that did that.
It's funny you should say that, because something I do actually know that's like they've plugged into movies is he famously would sit on the toilet with the door open and like yell at his staff and like have conversations and be like, we're not stopping this conversation. So, I mean, there might be a lot of eyewitnesses to yeah.
I've been to his the only presidential library like museum I went to his in Austin, and interesting.
Oh.
I learned a lot that I think he was the one who implemented Americans have to wear seatbelts. Like random the whole of like good shit LBJ did. So.
I mean, we usually lead with passing the Civil Rights Act, but yeah, also seatbelt is really important.
I mean, look, considering I look at America and there might or might not be still issues around certain things to do with the Civil Rights Act, but I think people still wearing seatbelts. So
we all agree on seatbelts. Yeah,
exactly. That solved racism in cars at least.
Exactly. Estee Lauder was born in 1908. Mel Blanc, he's the Looney Tunes guy, right?
Bugs Bunny and yeah.
It's just all James Bond this year. Bernard Lee, M himself, James Bond's original boss, longest running M of all time. I guess second for most appearances in a James Bond movie as well, behind Desmond Llewellyn. He had 11. Yeah, 11.
Yeah, something like that. Doesn't get a painting though behind him in No Time to Die though. That's
Betty Davis. My wife loves Betty Davis. She's got like these box sets with like Betty Davis collections and everything. I like the Betty Davis Eye song. That's a very good song. Donald Bradman. Who's Donald Bradman?
Okay, Colin. You offended Australia when you didn't know who John Farnham was. This is revenge for us going around the streets asking Australians who Wayne Gretzky is. Donald Bradman is basically Australia's Wayne Gretzky. He's the greatest cricketer to ever be a cricketer, and he is renowned as basically our Wayne Gretzky. He died, I think, 2001 from memory, and it was a very big deal. And alongside Shane Warne, another cricketer who died more recently. But no, he is regarded as probably our most famous ever athlete in our country's history. So, yeah.
And so that also means he was like, it was just like, so that means he was playing in the 30s?
30s and 40s. If anybody knows anything about cricket, which this will go right over your head, he famously has an average of 94 or 96? I should know that. That's a very un-Australian thing if I don't know that, which basically means his average score was nearly 100 runs every time he played. So, I don't know. I'm trying to work out an equivalent in baseball terms. I don't know if this is a poor equivalent, but like that would be like maybe you average getting 5 home runs every game. I don't know. That's maybe not a good comparison, but a century is a very big deal in cricket. If you get to 100 runs, that's like, very good. And generally an average player's average is about like 50 or 60 for a good player. So to have an average of nearly 100, to this day, it is the highest ever. And he famously got out for 0, which is called a duck in cricket, in his very last game. And I think he only needed to score like 3 or 4 runs to retire on an average of 100, but he got out for a duck. So, legend, absolute legend in Australian history.
I'm going to guess that Harold Holt was either his teammate or John Farnham's singing partner. Right?
I put Harold Holt in there because he was a prime minister. Now, this is, look this up because this is Australia's great history. He is I think the only world leader in history to go missing and never be found. He went swimming.
Oh, I know this guy.
Yeah, right? He went swimming and he got lost at sea. No one ever found him. And in true Australian form, it is a tribute to a man who drowned swimming at a beach. They named a swimming pool after him. But there's
Was that in the
rumors,
70s?
60s, I believe.
60s, okay.
There's rumors that like he was kidnapped by a Chinese sub. Like there's, all these rumors and things about it, but famously drowned. Well, they never found his body. So we all wish that one of our leaders on this podcast currently might do that. But if Carney doesn't do that and Trump did it instead, we'd be happy. So, there you go. Go for a swim, Donald. Go out for a swim. Stop pretending to get shot. Just go swimming and maybe actually you will die. So you never know.
Died the year 1908, Grover Cleveland, as well, just Butch Cassidy. So now we know the ending of the movie when they freeze frame that one of them lived because the Sundance Kid apparently didn't die that year.
Is that
just
Grover
Butch
Cleveland?
Cassidy.
Is Grover Cleveland the Sundance
Grover
Kid?
Cleveland was the Sundance Kid. Yes.
I just love the fact that like his name is Grover, and I realize Sesame Street came a long time after Grover Cleveland, but he's like, I just think of Grover and the Cleveland Show. Like, it's just like, these guys just got two kids' names, basically. Grover Cleveland.
Any other births or deaths that we need to talk about?
Lots of people, but
Besides Olympian, are we going to do Olympians later?
Well, we got the
now?
Olympians here, yeah.
Okay.
I'll just jump into that now then. Kanu Hitomi, Japanese silver medalist in the 800 meter, which would be 20 years exactly after 1908. Oddbjorn Hagen from Norway, cross country. We talked about him. I could have sworn we talked about him during the Milan games, didn't we?
maybe. Sure. He's odd and he's Bjorn. So,
well, he's from Norway, so yes. And Clarence Buster Crabbe. Is this the same Buster Crabbe that was a movie star?
he's Tarzan. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. The original Tarzan.
The
There we
first,
go.
the first of many Olympians to be, well, at least a couple Olympians to be Tarzan.
Johnny Weissmuller, the other one. Yeah.
Ray Gun.
Ray Gun. Yes. I remember her as Tarzan.
She just got fired, by the way. Just big news in Australia at the moment. So, yeah.
Oh, no.
Sad.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Fired from Australia.
Yeah. We just woke up. Get out.
We're terminating your citizenship immediately. Jackie Fields, boxer, born 1924 or boxed in 1924, born 1924 and 1908. Did it twice.
That good of a boxer.
Sulo Nurmela.
You want me to say that, mate?
Finnish
Sulo Nurmela.
cross country. this is why I hosting. And Percy Williams, Canadian 100 meter gold medalist from 1928. Saw a great statue of him in Vancouver last year. Any other ones we want to touch on?
Oh, I got one. I'm just trying to get it in. I'm just trying to get it into the chat. Hold on. Torsten Ullman, a Swedish shooter who won gold in Berlin in the 50-meter free pistol, bronze in the 25-meter rapid free pistol. I'm going to put in this in the chat right now. This dude makes Youssef Daichek, whatever, from Paris, look like a choir boy. This is his picture on
All right.
Wikipedia.
I guarantee our audio listeners.
Whoa!
Our audio listeners go and check this out.
Yeah, we need to see him up against the Turkish guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, sorry.
He looks like, in Casino Royale, the guy at the end who's got like the monocle who like,
Yeah.
He looks like him. Jesus. Wow. Is that real? Like,
or was
I mean, as much if
gangster
we're gonna
movie he
trust,
did?
if we're gonna trust Claude, we can trust Wikipedia.
True.
But like, that's his picture. If you look this dude up,
he's probably like 18 in that picture because it was like the 30s,
right?
right?
It was a harder life. Yeah.
So jumping into the Olympics themselves, as we mentioned, this was held over a long period of time. Opened on April the 27th and closed October 31st, 1908.
Halloween.
Halloween. I'm sure they had some type of trick or treating going on for the shooters, like this guy. A good costume there. Buster Crabbe came out in a loincloth. He was a baby. He probably wasn't a loincloth.
Launceston Elliott. He should have come out with that,
Mr. Bulgy.
Lyndon B. Johnson style.
Obviously, these are held in London, and we did cover the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, postponing for a couple of decades the Rome Olympics, Italy having to pass the torch to London, London actually building the stadium and everything as well, and all that short period of time. And countries, we had 22 countries participating in these games, which says here is the highest since 1900. So it was the highest in 2 games, technically. Are we counting the intercalated here? Of course we are, right?
I've put a few little asterisks around stats around because when it comes to like medals and who wins their first medals, like I think we talked about last time, like Finland technically won medals in 1906, but like this is technically their first. So I think like technically this is Finland's first Olympics because if you don't count intercalated, same with Turkey as well. Like they made their debuts in Athens in 1906, but this is their first official Olympics that we, we'd like to count 1906, but we can't. So, yeah.
And as you've noted here, countries like New Zealand are competing under Australasia. How do you pronounce it?
Australasia, yeah, which I looked this up. I think there was only 1 or 2 New Zealand athletes. And I tried it because I was trying to work out why we did this. I think we did this for 3 Olympics from memory or 2 Olympics. We competed as Australasia, which is there's always that famous stat of Australia is one of only, I think, 4 countries to compete in every Summer Olympics. And there's always like an asterisk there for 3 games. It's like 1908, 1912, and 1980, because obviously in 1980 I think we just competed under the Olympic flag. And obviously in 1908 and 12, we were with New Zealand. But from what I gathered, there was a IOC member at the time called Richard Coombs, who was the designated Australasia member of the IOC. And he was basically like, we want to include New Zealanders. We've only got a couple, so how about we just combine the delegation? I mean, this was, I guess, a period where we must have liked each other a lot because obviously in 7 years' time in World War I, we'll have the whole Gallipoli landing, Anzac, very famous thing in this country, where we combine with New Zealand. So yeah, that's what I found is that essentially it all came down to one IOC member was like, hey, a couple of those Kiwi guys want to come along, so let's put them under the flag. To point it out, all the medals were won by Australians, and even though the New Zealander carried the flag, apparently, but we carried the load of Australasia in 1908.
I don't think we actually have a section on this here, but did both of you look up who your flag bearers were for the first time?
I've got it.
I know who our flag bearer was.
I keep talking because I do
story
have
of the
it.
games for us.
It's okay. Well, Jenny, I'll let you go first. Yeah. I've got one on mine too.
Well, it's the story of the games for us that I'm going to get this wrong. Ralph Rose carried the flag, and this is apocryphal, but I think that's just funny because this is like the first game that we have myths that are inaccurate that live on to this day if you even touch on Olympic history. But I believe Ralph Rose carried the flag, and I might be flipping the names. And we famously did not dip the flag when we walked by the royal booth at the opening ceremony. And the legend is Martin Sheridan carried the flag, and Ralph Rose. No, I'm getting the names wrong. One carried the flag, and one is famous for supposedly saying, "This flag dips for no earthly king." And it was a reaction to there was this group of athletes that were mostly New York cops called the Irish Whales that for several Olympics, I mean, we've heard some of their names before: Martin Sheridan, Ralph Rose, I think Ray Ouray. We talked about him.
Ray Gunn.
Yeah. Like there was this, they were all Irish Americans or Irish immigrants. And obviously at that time, Irish and Great Britain, the Irish and the British did not get along very well. So we refused to, dip the flag to the king as all the other countries did. But
it was very controversial, the opening ceremony with flags, because you basically had that issue. Yeah. And you had like Finland refused to fly the Russian flag because they were still technically part of Russia. And Ireland obviously had the issues around it too. So again, this is, I think, technically the first opening ceremony to have flag bearers, because 1906 doesn't count. But yeah, and the Brits and the Americans hated each other in 1908 from what I was reading. So
just 1908, they were fine before that.
Yeah, and since, yeah, it's been great. Yes, no, there was. We were in a period of expansionism, and they were still in a period of imperialism and colonialism, and yeah, it was. And Teddy Roosevelt didn't give an F, so yeah, it was a contentious time.
Our flag bearer, Colin, was Henry St. Auburn Murray, a New Zealand track and field athlete who competed in the 110-meter hurdles and the 400-meter hurdles. And I will correct myself, there were 3 New Zealanders who competed in Australasia: Harry Kerr, Henry Murray, and Albert Rowland. There was a fourth New Zealander called Arthur Halligan, but he represented Great Britain.
The Canadian was actually Edward Archibald. And he doesn't have like some, historic career or anything like that. But the one interesting thing I did find on him is that he did compete in the intercalated games 2 years prior to this in the pole vault. Had, his very own expensive pole. I guess they had to bring their own equipment and everything. And while traveling to Greece, it was strapped onto the side of a train and basically fell off and got lost. So he had to use a borrowed pole and only ended up coming in 10th place. Carried the flag for Canada coming into these games, ended up in the three-way tie for bronze, so at least went home with a medal. But obviously no closing ceremonies. I mean, we're still so early in the Olympics, I don't think we're necessarily at the point where we're going to have like the most world famous athletes carrying it. Plus, over a 6-month period, who's going to be there for the opening ceremonies? Just the people who are really competing in the beginning, I guess.
Good point.
What are we at here? Finland and Turkey we mentioned making their debut. Interesting note we have here. Cuba was the only nation from the previous Olympics who didn't return. And Egypt was the only one from the intercalated games who didn't return. So if we take the intercalated games and the 1904 ones, we've only got 2 countries who didn't come back. But 22 countries still, very small in comparison to what we're used to now. 2008 athletes, 1,971 men overall, 37 women. So a lot more women competing. Figure skating, obviously, I have a very interesting figure skating story we're going to get to a little bit later on. I think we would not have seen this many extra women competing this time around. And 110 events overall. Now, I thought that number seemed really high. And then I went back over the last couple of Olympics. I'm like, it's not that big of a jump, really. And maybe a little bit less than what we had in 1900 because they had all the bizarre ones. But typical sports that we're used to, obviously archery, athletics, boxing, cycling, diving, fencing, field hockey. Figure skating comes in here. I'm just going to touch on a couple of the ones that maybe we're not used to seeing all the time here. Figure skating being one of them. These being the first Olympics to feature figure skating, which would later be axed and brought in to the Nordic Games instead. And jeu de paume, which I had no idea there's one. I looked up, and essentially it's a different type of tennis. Do I have that right? It's
essentially, if you know what real tennis is a form of that. So real tennis is a variant of what we know as tennis. I think we've talked about real tennis before. It's very it's similar but different. And I remember growing up in Hobart, we had like a real tennis court, and I was like, what is that? And you sort of learn about it. But yeah, it's a variant of real tennis. But it's weird with these, and I'm sure you're going over these sports, of how they classify them, because you then also have rackets as a sport, but then you also still have tennis. So you've got like rackets, jeu de paume, I know we've got badminton, table tennis, and different racket sports, but we don't call one of them rackets. So it's it's a bit confusing.
Motorsports. I'm gonna
water motorsports.
Ben, I'm sure you're gonna have something. So this isn't car racing or anything.
No, this is like boat racing, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, still cool. I mean, it's going to be the only time we're going to feature motorsports. I don't even know if it's going to come back after this one.
We technically had motorsports in Paris, didn't we? But this is more of boat racing. Yeah.
Obviously, lacrosse, this will be the last time lacrosse has competed. I think only the second time overall. What are the ones we have here? Tug of war is still here. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Field hockey. It's a field hockey debut. I sort of, when you look at that list and you go like, oh, field hockey is a staple. But this was the first time we actually had it. And was this rugby union's return since 1900? Because I don't think we had rugby in 1904 from memory, did we? Or
I remember us having it in Athens, I think. And polo as well. Polo's coming back here.
We had rugby in 1900, and you're right, polo returned since 1900 as well. So they'd been missing for 8 years.
Jamie, any sports in particular that stand out for you that you are excited to talk about?
Jeu de paume, real tennis. The guy
Jeu de paume.
Jeu de paume. The guy who won that, Jay Gould II, won every U.S. championship in real tennis from 1906 to 1925.
Jesus.
And over that period, only lost one match.
Wow.
He is the great uncle of Georgia Gould, who competed in cycling at the 2012 London Games.
Oh, amazing. There you go. That's dominance. Whenever we talk about like these dominant athletes, why don't we talk about him? That's insane. You go lose one match in 17 years? That's ridiculous.
That was really fast math. That was good.
I
Yeah.
know. The braces help.
When I did it, it was only 7 years. So yeah, good job.
I'll let you go in a second, Ben, but I want to talk about figure skating here. There's other points which I could bring this in, but I want to specifically talk about one athlete here for women's figure skating, Madge Sires. So she competed in both the individual women's and also in the pairs with her husband, medaled in both of them. But she is the key figure to getting, I guess, a split in men's and women's competitive figure skating. She first competed in 1902 at the World Figure Skating Championships, which was an all-men event. She was the first woman to compete against all men at the World Figure Skating Championships, won the silver medal
Wow.
against all men,
Wow.
second place in the world as the only woman competing. They then basically, through the popularity of this, and then the following year at the British Figure Skating Championships, she actually won the gold, beating her own husband. And through her and the success of her, they said, maybe we should actually have a division just for women, which, flash forward 5 years.
We can't beat the men, basically. They're saying, oh, this is embarrassing. Put her in her own category.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, wow.
Too many men are losing right here. So women's figure skating, essentially, you could consider her to be the mother of women's figure skating because it was created because of how much she was blowing away the male competition or even being allowed to compete in that. And then she ends up, competing here, winning the gold, complete dominance in the women's individual figure skating, and then wins the bronze with her husband, which I think it's, having figure skating is great. For one thing, for the first time we're talking about here in the Summer Olympics, but the fact that women's figure skating exists essentially because of this one woman, that blew my mind. Ben, anything you want to talk about?
It's interesting. I think there was meant to be golf at these Olympics, but they cancelled it just a couple of days apparently before it started, and because
the 18th hole was Mount Vesuvius.
Yeah, it just blew up.
That was a problem for them.
It was actually a woman and it was winning, so they were like, oh no, we can't have more women winning.
It was a dog leg in Pompeii. Yeah, it was a tough. It was a par 4, really. Yeah, tough.
The classification apparently back then was that they so football was actually both rugby and soccer essentially, but it's only sort of been retroactively that the IOC have gone like, no, we're going to separate this. And apparently same with tug of war. For some reason, tug of war has always been classified as its own separate category, even though it was back in the day part of athletics, which I always find it interesting that like they just don't keep that as an athletics event, because to me that's an athletics event, right? And the 3 demonstration sports, we had cycle polo, glimmer, and pistol dueling was back again. What is glimmer?
Gilma?
Gilma? Is it glimmer? Icelandic wrestling is what it is. There you go. I am intrigued why we didn't keep Icelandic wrestling on there. It was also a demonstration event in Stockholm in 4 years' time. But any Icelandic wrestlers out there, you got your own category. Bring it back to the Olympics, apparently. But the rugby. I think rugby was only sort of just tacked on at the end as well. And eventually we'll talk about that. That was Australia's only gold medal. But I think that just came down to the fact that there was an Australian team touring at the time. So like, oh yeah, well, you want to stick around and compete in the Olympics? Sure. France pulled out, so it ended up only being Australia versus England, and we whopped them. But apparently that was a fun fact. Our national rugby union team is still to this day called the Wallabies, and apparently it was adopted during these Olympics because the British press referred to us as the Wallabies. So very famous name there to do that. But
what's a wallaby?
It is a type of kangaroo, basically. So it's like a smaller kangaroo. So, yeah, not quite as... I mean, in my home state of Tasmania, we technically only have one breed of kangaroo, and it's like a little miniature version found on a beach in the northeast. So every time you...
There are miniature kangaroos?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like how big? Like 6 inches?
There's
12 inches?
literally ones called potoroos, which if people are watching this right now are about, that big. And then the big ass red kangaroos are like,
fine. Now I'm coming to Australia. I want to see mini kangaroos.
The beautiful thing about wallabies is that like you drive down the street, in certain parts of Hobart and you'll hit one, you're like, oh, bloody kangaroos. And if you want to be that technical, they're not kangaroos, they're wallabies, because they are technically different. But how? I don't know.
Okay.
There was no official branding for this, no poster or anything like that. The medals had the winners actually got proper solid gold medals on them, and they're not just gold plated. And then diplomas, which were given out as well. where I guess that's the big Dwen of its time, giving out diplomas, which I think they had something similar to that in the was it the intercalated games or was it St. Louis we talked about? It wasn't diplomas. It was some type of.
That St. Louis, maybe they got something. Yeah,
no, because it had I think it was the intercalated because it had pictures of the gods on them.
Oh,
remember that?
yeah. I mean,
yeah, but it wasn't consistent across all the events.
You still get like if you finish as at top 8. I just did an interview where we talked about this. I think it's if you finish top 8 or top 7 at the Olympic Games, you still get like a certificate, like I guess, which is the modern equivalent of a diploma. But like they
So
still
if you make the final, basically.
pretty much, yeah. But like yeah, essentially. But if you do finish top, I think it's 7 or 8. But you will get a level. And one of our guests recently did have a frame behind him of like I think it was that our bobsledder, Mr. God, I've interviewed so many people this week. But he had it framed behind him because I think they got 4th at the Olympics. So he got it. Yeah. Anyway. Ben knows his guests that he interviews, so obviously treat them very importantly on this show. I love you all.
Mascots.
Oh, here we go.
So I have to take a picture of mine here. I had 2 of them done, so I hope one of these isn't taken because one of them didn't save. But I'll go first here. So I have, no, that's the one that didn't save the picture. Where is it? Leo of London.
Leo
is Leo the lion, I guess. I'm going to say this is the most well-dressed mascot that I've seen yet.
Oh, that's not bad.
Like
he's a bit blurry, but he's,
got a little,
you know.
He's got a little hat on him. Yeah.
I guess that's this is the thing with like lion being like a symbol of Britain, even though like lions obviously roam the streets of London, right?
Yeah. But he's got one of those little hats on his head and he's got the crest and a little belt and his socks are rolled up. That's one thing I thought was quite funny in this. He's rolled down his socks, I guess that we would say it. What does it say here specifically about him? Represents strength and determination. Dressed in classic Edwardian athletic kit, carrying the Union Jack. He welcomes athletes from around the world to the great stadiums of Britain, great stadium, I guess I should say, with a brave heart, a fair sporting shirt, and a friendly roar. He reminds everyone that the true victory comes through courage, discipline, and respect.
Next. Some respect. You go, Jamie, because you had a cool. I just want to say you're one that you complained about for the intercalated games being a bit Pokemon-ish. That was underrated. The more and more I looked at that, I'm like, I kind of liked your like Pokemon looking mascot. So,
you worked hard on it.
You did.
But I'm stuck living in a Pokemon universe with a 4-year-old.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, I put mine in the chat. It's what's our boy the Italian runner collapsed at the finish line. Just relaxing.
I'm looking at the different one there. I'm looking at old shooter guy again. He's like laying down. He's like,
yeah,
but there's nobody helping him up.
Not yet. But oh my God, that did a good job though. Is that Big Ben in the background? I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
They've done very. It looks like he's like sleeping, not dying though. It looks like it's rather than just like being buggered. He's just going like, I'm going to lay down. I'm tired. Like, not bad. Why is he from Sweden though, or is that the Italian crest of 1908?
That's a great question. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I've got a gentle British bulldog called Regal, and it's similar to you, Colin, symbolizing strength, determination, and the British spirit. He's Regal. There he is.
Oh, that looks almost identical to the other one that didn't save of mine.
With the bowler hat.
He's got a little cup of tea there, and Big Ben's in the background, and there he is. Now
that's something I want to see a person waddling in the suit for.
He does look very British. Wearing a classic Union Jack. Holding a teacup, big drop, look friendly, proud, dignified, like an ambassador of sport and manners. Oh, welcome to the Olympics. Please come in. Manners. We're just going to rig all the judging for you if you're British. Other than that, you can fuck off. I mean, look, I'm quite partial to Regal, but I mean, you know, I'm also biased here.
And that was
like Regal.
I'm pretty, because the other one I have the bio here, and it was just Brutus the bulldog.
Brutus.
The picture though looked identical to yours, but yeah, I think the bowler hat definitely gives him a little bit of a.
It says in the explanation here that maybe a monocle, but this doesn't have a monocle. I want more mascots with a monocle.
If we had a monocle, then there's no debate.
What's that from Ace Ventura? Oh, look, it's a Monopoly guy. He's got with a monocle. So we going with Regal?
Regal it is.
I'm for Regal, yeah.
Yay. I get a win. All right, let's put that in the list.
I mean, if AI gets a win, but you can take it.
My prompts were better than yours. Regal, a British bulldog, joins Serby, the three-headed hellhound, Tracton, the tug-of-war elephant, Poppy the arch, that word Ben can't say, arch, that didn't exist yet, Leonidas the panther, and now we've got a bulldog. So there you go. We're tracking well.
We did talk about the venue, I guess, already for the White City Stadium. One thing I made a list here of every event that was held in there. A lot of these simultaneously, like Jamie was mentioning. So no, that's the wrong Olympics. Here we go, London. That's where we're at. So this White City Stadium was built. It was actually 10 months. So they had only 10 months to build this entire thing from
10 months to build a stadium. I'm not going in those seats.
It stood till like the 80s or something like that too.
Yeah.
Wow. Which is unbelievable. But it featured track and field, archery, cycling, field hockey, lacrosse, football, rugby, tug of war, wrestling, diving, swimming, water polo. All of those, a lot of them simultaneously. Like
that's amazing.
We watched during like the track and field, and you've got, the decathlon events going on at the exact same time as the hurdles are going on and stuff like that. But I can't imagine watching diving while you're watching the tug of war, while you're watching the 100-meter going on at the same time.
And a full-on field hockey match.
Yeah.
And field hockey, yeah. That must have been a massive stadium.
This is the thing, like you're never going to do this again. I get that. I understand the reasons why you do it separately, but like if they want to legitimately save money and save logistics, fucking do this. Like you did it in 1908, you can do it in 2028, right? Like 120 years later, I think we've improved our technology slightly, so I feel this could be done again. IOC, come on, Kirsty, save some money. There you go.
Also, I wouldn't be so upset at $900 per ticket if I was getting 13 events at the same time.
Like less than $100 a sport, Yeah, 100%.
I mean, that's why gymnastics, they can charge so much for that because you're watching 4 or 5 events going on at the same time, So let's bring it back.
Yeah.
We just don't have any video games or official songs or anything yet. But
no movies.
Was still.
We didn't have a movie. I thought there would be something from this, but no, apparently not.
From London? No. Well, we'll get to it. We can make our own movie. But Pierre de Coubertin was still the IOC president. The British Olympic Associate leader was Lord Desborough.
What a name.
And there's a note here that there's more organization. Like I know for even Canada, we'd had our own organizing committee, but this was the first time where there was like a selection process and there were Canadian trials and everything. And even for our, there's a big deal for our lacrosse team, which, won the gold here, that it was the first time that Canada had ever put together. I don't even know how many other countries had even done this. They put together a team for an Olympic team event and didn't just choose a club. They're like, we're going to take players from BC and Saskatchewan and Manitoba and New Brunswick and then just put together like the all-star team.
Which I think, was it 1904 from memory was the first time that the US had done that, Jamie? I think we talked about it, that this was kind of moving into that period where, it was literally sending NOCs versus a fucking Gerald, you go compete in the lacrosse, fucking Frank, you do the swimming. Because
I think the AAU gets founded around that time. I mean, thankfully,
the fun
not really.
The fun thing about the Australian was that apparently, sort of the way they were formed at the opening ceremony, they actually didn't know they were meant to wear uniforms. So they were told last minute, like, guys, you're all going to wear uniforms. They're like, oh, fuck. So apparently the swimmers just walked in their swimming clothes barefoot. And then the other track athletes who didn't have any sort of like coloring on their shorts just found some like green and gold things and added it to their shorts, basically. That was sort of a
DIY.
last minute. Yeah, why not?
We have our big stories, big moments of these games, which we did, I think, mostly touch on the whole political situation, with the flag tipping and everything. Also with the issues of Finland and
Russia.
was it Sweden, Australia, Russia.
I don't think Australia's ever had an issue with Finland.
You're sending Kiwis with us? Come on.
Let's start that rumor though.
I think
Aussies don't like the Finns.
Fin relations are quite high and quite good. I don't even know if the Prime Minister of Australia and the Prime Minister of Finland have probably ever publicly met. I've never seen a photo of them. So are we starting something here? Fuck you, Finland.
What does that say?
Exactly. Why don't you meet Albo? What did Albo have to do to you? Finland, I'm going to look you up. Who is the leader of Finland? Oh, let's start this. Come on, you ice hockey losers. You can only win bronze at the Olympics. Leader of Finland. It is the president, Alexander Stubb. Your name doesn't even sound Finnish. Shouldn't it be like Heikki Stubbalainen or something like that? Alexander Stubb, you suck. All right, Australian rule, you don't. There you go. Let's start it.
Can you just say Stubb, you suck again, Ben?
Stubb, you suck. President of Finland. Wasn't the president of Finland like some young, groundbreaking female a couple of years ago? Sexist. See, you're sexist, Finland. You get rid of progressive females and you put in a boring white dude with glasses. I should be president of Finland. I'm a boring white dude with glasses.
Maybe he could be like the most beloved figure in Finnish history, for all we know.
That's Mika Häkkinen and Kim, they're Formula One drivers. They love them, all right? Timu Solani.
Come
on.
Paavo Nurmi.
Yeah, exactly. They don't love their leaders. Fuck you, Finland. Fuck you. Right. I'm over it.
So the marathon distance was set here during these games, 42.195.
Jamie's loving this. Look at him. He's happy. He's like, here we go. Not like we've never talked about the marathon in these episodes before. Finally is my chance.
I'm gonna give a lot of time to Jamie here because he's got some good marathon stuff. I got one story I'm gonna add on for our stars section here. But this distance, so I mean I run marathons, but I don't even know, was this like the first marathon like anywhere that used that 42-mile distance? Because to this day, if it's 42 miles or it's gonna be, if you're looking kilometers. Come
on, Colin. What can you do?
Miles.
No, can you walk something that fast? Can you? Come on, get your facts right.
In 7 minutes. The 42-kilometer distance, like that's what's still used to this day, and half marathons at 21.1 and everything. So had there been anything at this distance, or was this literally just the first time that was created?
I don't know that it's the first time this was created. I thought the standard was 40 kilometers, but up to this point. But there's a lot of stories around why it's 26 miles, 385 yards, and the thing is, all you hear, it was so it could end in front of the royal box, but that had already happened at other games. And then the other famous thing you hear is that Princess Mary, who would become Queen Mary and have a ship named after her that's in Long Beach, California, wanted the race to start outside the nursery at Windsor. But this is apocryphal from what I've read very recently, because one, Princess Mary was down on the field to start the race, and while they wouldn't let her shoot a gun because that's a princess isn't going to do that, she rang a button that told the starters to shoot the gun. And she lived down the road at another castle, so it's very unlikely that she would have had a nursery there when she had can you say the word nursery, Ben?
Nursery?
Oh, he did it better.
Yeah, you did it better than me.
I was about to say, is this a different thing, or are you actually saying that with a lisp? Canberra.
But the person you mentioned earlier, Lord Gainsborough, was actually in charge of setting the distance, and the race was originally going to start on the street in front of the castle at Windsor and go to Shepherd's Bush, which is fun to say, where White City was. But they moved it inside the grounds of the palace because they were afraid if the Duke of Windsor or whoever was out on the street, they might get rushed. So maybe that added on the extra 385 yards. But
Have you been reading a
whole-
book, Jamie, recently about
I,
this?
I've been reading a book, Martin Dugard.
And where can we find it?
Where can you purchase this book? And tell us more about it.
The Long Run by Martin Dugard. Put it in the notes.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a history of the marathon. It was really
I just
interesting.
want to say, just on the whole distance thing, like I wish I could remember exactly what it was, but I heard this years ago. It's all about like why are the standard roads the width they are, and why lanes are the width they are, and that it all goes back to, it's like, well, roads were like this because that's what the gravel roads were for carriages, and they had to accommodate carriages. Okay, well, why were the roads for carriages like that? It's like, well, because that's what the train tracks are like. Why are the train tracks? It all comes down to like, well, because that's what the horses were on. Like, that's the size of horses. To this day, we still have things that are certain sizes and certain distances for reasons that don't apply now, which is just crazy to think that I might be running marathons to this day just because once upon a time they want to start at Windsor Castle.
An arbitrary distance.
It's also, speaking of distance, is one thing, and sort of related to what we're talking about with things like kilometers and miles. I believe this is the first Olympics to standardize it at metric measurements as well. That obviously being in the UK, we had things like meters instead of yards. And I feel that this, I believe, that this was the where it started. So now why we still have like the 100 meters, 400 meters, etc. It's because of these Olympics, essentially. But I find it fascinating. And all jokes aside, I realize why every one of these we're talking about the marathon the most, because every single time we've done one of these, the marathon has been bloody interesting.
Yeah.
But like, it's just, I always heard that story. I've always, like, it's one of these things you always, I feel, hear before every Olympics. It's no different to the reason why the athletes walk out into the closing ceremony because a kid in Melbourne, suggested they should come in together. Like, I swear every Olympics you will hear and of course the reason why the marathon is 42 whatever kilometers because in London 1908 they wanted to go past the royal box. So, I mean, whatever the story is or whether it happened before or not, it is very unique, and it also scares me that if Donald Trump actually reads a book on London 1908, wow, look at all the influence big people can have on the Olympics, like what the fuck are we going to see in LA in 2 years' time? But yeah, it's very interesting.
The marathon is going to stretch hundreds and thousands of kilometers. So I want this thing to end it's got to end at Trump Plaza.
LA to Washington, D.C. It's never been done before. I thought about it. They said it was tremendous. Great. They said, Donald, I've been wanting to do that for years, Donald.
Jamie, your book's gotta give us some good insights into the.
I'm sorry, those were the two worst Donald Trump
really
impersonations I've ever heard in my entire life, but that's probably for the best. But yeah, sorry. What was your question, Colin?
Give us your Durando Pietri impression and tell us a little bit about him based on your book.
Oh, I can't go on any longer. No, just leave me here on the ground. No,
that is the worst Durando Pietri I've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Like, the guy fell down. You can't help him up. Go Johnny Hayes. Let's go.
The one time that the judging went for America.
Wasn't it? What nationality was the runner that got trucked by the Christian guy in Athens?
Oh, yeah. Was he? I don't think he was American, was he?
No, wasn't he?
I know he wasn't. Meb Keflezighi, who was American, moved up to silver, I believe, because that guy got like tackled.
Was he?
But I think the tackler was American.
Yeah, typical.
This marathon, I think, tops anything we've seen in Tokyo. I don't know if it's going to top St. Louis as far as like
Tokyo.
Brutality of it. Well, the Tokyo Marathon was like of modern times.
Oh, right.
Like
I thought you were talking about the classic Tokyo Olympics we'd already covered. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. But if you look at like the people who finished in this, it was like 2/3 of the amount of people dropped out or something like that. Let me find it here.
They were getting alcohol. Was I seeing like some of them were giving alcohol because they thought it was like a stimulant and wouldn't dehydrate them?
Some of them were
like
taking strychnine.
Oh. There you go, modern moves. That guy just broke the 2-hour thing. You could have run in an hour if you had been taking this shit. Come on.
So yeah, it's basically about 50% of the people didn't even finish this. 55 competitors overall, competitors overall, and 27 of them finished. The last place, the Canadian George Lister, he was half an hour behind the second last place. So I mean, that guy was really determined. But I have a fun story here about a Canadian, Tom Longboat. So he was the winner of the Boston Marathon the year prior to this. And he finished the Boston Marathon 5 minutes faster than any of the 9 previous winners. He was one of the I keep saying competitors. So one of the competitors that collapsed during this, one of the 50% of the collapse during this. But the actual Canadian manager. So this is where there may be a little bit of racism playing in this. He was accused by the Canadian manager of doping just because he fainted. Let's ignore the fact that about a dozen other Canadians and 50 other competitors overall collapsed through this exact same thing. The year after this, I guess he was a big enough deal and it was enough of a disappointment that they're like, we can hold an exhibition. So there was a 3-way race held at Madison Square Garden the year after this, which also featured Durando Pietri and Alfred Shrub.
And the New York Knicks.
And the New York Knicks, they all competed in one event, and Tom Longboat actually did go on to win this thing, but he had a reputation by a lot of the coaches of being lazy, which for doing what is now common practice, which is called interval running, where you're going to run 2 or 3 kilometers at a fast pace, and then you're going to walk or do a light jog after that, and then you're going to pick it up and everything, and for working in rest and recovery days. Now, this is what every athlete does today, but this mostly through the media picking up on these coaches, these managers who are trying to deem him, literally labeling him as the lazy Indian. He developed this terrible reputation through the media. But the funniest thing about him is that he had his own family members who didn't believe that he could actually run. Like, this guy was in the Olympics. He was the winner of the Boston Marathon, and members of his own family said, you can't run that fast. So he actually challenged his own brother to a race. He gave his brother a half an hour head start, driving a horse in a buggy, and half an hour later ran on foot. And yet he still beat his brother, who had a half an hour head start in a horse and buggy.
Almost as good as me walking.
Later on, there's actually even more interesting stories about him that his death was falsely reported, like, because he was, a fairly big name. His death was falsely reported during the war that he was killed in action. And American newspapers actually ran stories with somebody who was a completely different person, but it was reported that he was dead. So they didn't know that he was alive, I guess, till the end of World War I. His wife had read this, assumed he was dead, and remarried. Came back, and this is the way the story is written, the actual article that there is. So his wife remarried in 1918. Although pleased to find out that he had survived, she had no desire to leave her new husband. So he later remarried somebody else.
Castaway Helen Hunt.
yeah, exactly. That's the
I'm
Castaway
glad
story,
you're
right?
alive, but I like my non-Tom Hanks husband. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to find anything even close to as entertaining as Tom Longboat, or as epic as Tom Longboat's story among any of our Canadian winners. But no, Tom Longboat, the lazy Indian, who is deemed one of the greatest marathon runners in history. He's the Canadian star.
He's not the guy who won 1906, right? The one Canadian who won the marathon, but it's never going to count because it wasn't a real game.
Oh, I don't think so.
No,
but
okay.
I can look that up.
Why? We always talk about the marathon. We need to make a prediction of what Olympics do we get to where the marathon doesn't even come out as like one of the top stories.
Billy Shearing was the Canadian from the last one. Yeah, different.
I think we get a break. Maybe we don't have to talk about it until a baby Bikila runs it barefoot in Rome. Maybe we get I don't know.
And I'm not disparaging the marathon. I am the least fit of all three of us right now, and I could only dream of running a marathon. I admire any.
This isn't a marathon podcast. We gotta branch out.
Can we date this too? That we are literally recording this days after we had the first sub 200 time in a marathon at the London Marathon.
That's ridiculous. Like,
I didn't think I was going to see that. In my lifetime? Even when I can't remember the runner that went under on a non-sanctioned course, I didn't think I was going to see that in my lifetime.
Can I ask a very uneducated marathon question? Because unlike, say, the 100 meters, which is on a standard 100-meter track, I assume most 100-meter tracks are generally the same. Obviously, wind comes into play for those, why sometimes are legal and sometimes are not. But does certain courses aid that to make running under 2 hours more possible? Or as you say, because it's a sanctioned course, is that going to be possible on anything because it's the same distance, if that makes sense?
Sanctioned courses are, it's like Boston, you can't set the world record on Boston,
Okay.
I don't think, or New York, but you can do it in Chicago, you can do it in Berlin, you can do it in London.
Right.
London has produced some pretty fast times, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, I mean, you can't, like, there's a marathon in Sacramento, the Sacramento Marathon, capital of California, that's like as much net downhill as you could possibly be while still being a sanctioned course.
Right.
And it's kind of like they have it at a certain time of year because it's your like last chance to qualify for Boston, which is the big thing in the United States. But yeah, no, it can't be.
I think elevation. It's elevation is one of the big factors.
Like, that's what I would assume.
We're lucky here.
Like Mexico, you're gonna. Yeah,
because like here in Winnipeg, like we frequently get the Canadian half marathon championships just because we are one of the flatter cities you can find in North America. But yeah, I think wherever you're going to have more elevation and everything in the terrain is where it's not necessarily going to be.
That's what I mean. Because I'm thinking like if London's very downhill and it's obviously going to be But again, I'm not technical. I don't. Dumb question by me. You're welcome.
Ben, do you have any other big stories, key stories that we should touch on here?
Not really. I think kind of the one that really drew me out was the political stuff and just the judging because, touching on the distances and that being a key thing about how, that set the tone. Really important to note that this was the Olympics that kind of forced the IOC's hand to make sure that all the judges weren't just from the home country because all the controversy around these games came from the fact that all of the judges were British. So therefore, there was large amounts of perceived British bias. Famously in the 400 meters, when the British runner was up against, I think, 3 Americans, was deemed to have been pushed out of it in the semi-final of the heats. Or no, sorry, it was the final, sorry. And the judges stepped in and basically cancelled it, rerun it. The Americans were like, no, we're not doing this. And basically the British guy went on to win it by himself. Yeah, that was just, I think, the most famous example of it that you look at the medal table, we're obviously jumping ahead here, to see the discrepancy of Britain to the USA. I think that's a big story to note that, again, it sounds on paper like the most obvious thing. Don't fill your judges with your own national judges. But in 1908, we weren't thinking that way. So this obviously set the standard for 1912, we didn't see Sweden win 100 gold medals. Because by then, all the Swedish judges are like, no, you're not allowed to judge your own countries. So, yeah.
The main stars of these Olympics, this will be the last time I think we get to talk about them. We've talked about
Jamie's
them almost
favorite.
the entire time we've been doing this. Ray Uri.
All right. Justice for Ray. Come on.
Standing long jump, 8 career gold medals.
10 if you count Athens, 1906.
Yeah, including intercalated, he's double digits. He definitely, I think, takes the title of being you even mentioned here in the notes as legend. Like he is the first Olympic legend I think we've come across where we're seeing a star across multiple games.
Which we noted during Milan that Clabo became only the second Olympian to win double-digit gold medals alongside Phelps. If we counted intercalated games, Ray Uri would be in that list. I'm compiling at the moment. It's a bit of a lengthy process, as you can imagine, but I'm trying to compile a bit of a database, mainly for a moving graphic on our social media to see kind of like the list of who had the most medals over time and, who was number one. And obviously we know it's Phelps now, but, who held the record in 1908. So I'm hoping to have maybe by Stockholm where I can sit here and say, currently, the current greatest Olympian of all time in terms of medals was Ray Uri, or like on these games, it was overtaken by XYZ. But it's fascinating to see. And I know we've talked a lot about these Olympians in this early period of winning multiple gold medals. But like what's obviously very interesting is that we don't often really say these athletes' names anymore, really, do we? And I think the guy won 8 Olympic gold medals. Whether his events were deemed hard or not, or whatever they are, you can't take away from that fact that he won 8 gold medals. I mean, you can argue that for the equestrian riders who have a 50-year career and all they do is ride a horse that lifts its leg up every now and then. Like, I mean, fucking oath. I'd consider a standing long jump harder than that. But yeah, I think that That's a pretty bloody big thing to win 8 Olympic gold. And the guy never won another color. It was gold or nothing. This guy was undefeated for basically his entire Olympic career. So yeah, a real legend.
I like that too because it's. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, like, it's the same thing with like judging athletes from different eras, and they're like, okay, it's going to be maybe lost on you guys, but Bronco Nagurski, the famous like college running back, like went pro and was unstoppable in American football, and they're like, everyone's like, well, all right, well, he was playing against a bunch of guys that were playing football part time, and the rest of the time they were bricklayers, but that was everybody at that time, and he was dominant. Like, and I think that needs to be. 100%. That needs to be appreciated. So it's like, like it's not like there were all these great, right. There's not like there was all these great professional athletes that weren't competing against our boy Ray.
Yeah.
Like that's just what it was back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of want to add that like we're seeing during all of these games, whenever we're talking about these big stars, so many of them are one and done, like it's not really a thing during these days that people are like, oh, I'm going to go defend my Olympic medal. I mean, this guy came back time and time and time again and defended multiple medals over and over again. So, but it is weird that like, when we talk about, the Ray Uris here, I don't think it's going to be until we get to the 20s and 30s that we start to see these names that have sort of lived on to this day where people still know who they are.
Like Jesse Owens, I mean, I'm not disparaging Jesse Owens, but like, I mean, he's really... I mean, I know there are earlier ones that I'm missing, but like he's always that one that always seems to just come up on the list, right? And then we have and God forgive me, I feel terrible as an Olympic podcast host. I can't remember her name. The Soviet woman who held the record until Phelps broke her record.
Oh yeah.
People
the
like
gymnast.
The gymnast, yeah. People like that you sort of hear, but then you're right because like we are so shrouded in modernism that. It's great to celebrate a Phelps and a Clabo and a Kayla Decky and Simone Biles, these iconic people who will be talked about for history. But I do also feel we do get lost in the Ray Uris and the people like this who, I mean, it's just an insane thing to me that they did this. And again, as Jamie was saying, like you play the cards you're given, and this guy is so dominant in that sport. The real tennis guy you're talking about before. I mean, that's an insane stat that if you think of Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, if they went 17 years undefeated and only lost one game of tennis, imagine how revered they would be more so than they are now. Like, that's insane to think that was achieved. So, yeah.
We also have Henry Taylor here, who would be the
president
big,
of
star for
not president, president's husband in 24.
Yeah, first husband in 24. Yeah,
Cole Fiore, what's his name? Wasn't it right?
Cole Fiore.
Yeah. Thank you. 24 reference here on Off the Podium. Woo!
And this will be something that we're going to be talking about for the next couple episodes as well, because I mean, Henry Taylor is going to continue to compete. Yep. I mean, I think he already was in the intercalated games, but I mean, he's going to be going on 1920. Will be his final Olympics.
Where are those Olympics held, Colin?
Where are the 1920
Antwerp!
Olympics?
Woo!
There we go, Antwerp.
Two away. Sorry.
From Athens to Antwerp, the Henry Taylor story. But yeah, nice. Like he's gonna be, I think, the next Ray Uri, the next legend that lives on from games to games to games, winning 3 gold medals in a single games. That was the most any Briton had ever won, which is a record that wouldn't be surpassed for 100 years.
Yeah. Well, because, Britain.
Yeah. Yeah.
See what happens, the judges in your corner, Britain? You suck. All right.
And he's technically tied during these games for the most games won with Mel Shepherd, who's the other one we have here, who is gold in the 800 and 1500 meter. I guess, no, he's over Mel Shepherd during these ones. Mel Shepherd, Jamie, can you give us any information on Mel Shepherd?
Not that much, except that he won the 800 and the 1500 meters. Sorry.
Oh, good call.
And was from the United States of America.
Sorry. I mean, me dropping the ball on a track and field guy, especially a middle distance guy. Shame on me. But
do you have any other names?
We're dealing with a lot in this country right now.
I'll help you. You keep talking.
No time for podcasts.
I'll pull the Wikipedia page up.
I have. Do that while I do that. One thing that I found very interesting: 14 nations sent 327 gymnasts to the games.
Wow.
That's 23 per country. Sweden had 32 gymnasts in Norway who they won gold, and Norway had 30 gymnasts on their team. I'm not even sure how you break that up or score that, but yeah, that's a long roster of gymnasts.
I'm intrigued about your gymnast story, but I'm reading here about the great Mel Shepherd because it seems that somebody didn't do his research, and I can.
Bring it.
He went on to win gold and silver in Stockholm, so we'll talk about him in a few more years. He was born in in Almonson in New Jersey, and apparently he tried to. So by May, the New York Times reported that Haskins. This is a different person we're talking about here. Who are we talking about? Haskins. Sorry. Read this section because there's a section to do with Australia. During the indoor season of 1907-08, Shepherd raced Guy Haskins. There you go. In the first, he was beaten. In the second, about to be beaten again, he threw Haskins to the floor with a flying mare, which he also did to another runner, Adam Shea, in the Millrose Games, in which he was disqualified. In the third, he walked off the track as he was about to be beaten again. So Mel Shepherd's a bit of a sore loser. By May, the New York Times reported that Haskins was unquestionably the best half-mile and half-mile performer in the country. He was refused to compete for the US, and then he tried to compete for Australia. This poor guy has been kicked and thrown away by bloody Mel Shepherd, and Australia said no to him. So,
I'm putting
Mel Shepherd's a cheater.
He's going to be our cult hero. I feel like, I don't know, unless we have some other better names to come up.
It was in a cigarette. It was in cigarette cards here I'm seeing. He joined the New Jersey National Guard and he went to World War I where he served as athletic director. And he died in New Jersey in 1932. Anyway, he died of acute indigestion. All right. Sucks to be him. Shouldn't be kicking people. 1942 he died in, so, that's how much he survived.
Highlights for our nations. Jamie, U.S. ended up second on the medal table because, there were a bunch of unfair judges.
Sorry. Apparently there was a rumor that he was a lawyer in the Lindbergh child kidnapper case, but apparently that was...
Oh, that's right. Jesus Christ. That's the only thing I had written down about Mel Shepherd.
Come on, Jamie! Lindbergh child kidnapper! Kicking people!
Do you guys even know about the Lindbergh kidnapping in Australia?
Yeah, Lindbergh baby.
Yeah, heard of it.
No.
Anyway,
No.
Good to see that Off the Podium, the number one Olympics podcast in the world, gets our information halfway through the episode from Wikipedia when we don't do our proper research. You are welcome.
U.S. is second on the medal table because the Brits rigged everything in their favor. Jamie, any specific highlights you want to mention for United States during these games?
Well, John Carpenter, who got thrown out of the 400 and then they didn't run the race, went on to direct Halloween and The Thing and Escape from New York. So that was great. Apparently Mel Shepherd got the Lindbergh kidnapping on trial.
I want to pause for a second because last time we were appalled at Ben having never seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Ben, have you seen Halloween, The Thing, or Escape from New York?
Every time I look in the mirror, I see The Thing. I left New York, so you could argue I escaped, but I didn't escape because it's a great city. No, I haven't. I've not seen any of those movies.
Any of them?
Nope. Sorry.
You probably hate The Thing because I don't think you're scared of horror movies, but I know you're not. The Thing is more like a very graphic sci-fi horror.
It's just never been a genre that was my sister's thing, and I don't know. It's not that I'm scared of them. It's just never been a genre I
Can we do a new podcast where we just make Ben watch the best horror movies ever and get him to talk about them?
Sure.
Yeah.
The few I've seen, I've enjoyed. We did the what did we do? The George Ramirez Living Dead.
Oh, the Dawn of the Dead trilogy.
They were entertaining. I seen the first two Saw movies.
The Thing though is it's one of these things where I feel like everybody should watch that, whether they're going to love it or hate it. I took my wife Jamie, not this wife, but the other wife Jamie. Not this Jamie, my other wife. Anyways, I took my wife to see The Thing, and she loved it. It is
Jamie
grotesque, but it was the 40th anniversary re-release and everything in theaters, and she loved it.
And have you seen the original? Like the
Oh
one
yeah,
from
the
like
thing
the
from
50s?
yeah. Yeah, and even the remake with Joel Edgerton, I kind of like that one, which I think was technically a prequel. But I hear they're making another one. Anyways, The Thing, from famous Olympian John Carpenter.
Yeah. Yeah. Olympics. All right, cool. Olympics.
Yeah.
Okay,
overall performance of the United States, though. I mean,
can I ask a question? Sorry about another John. Are we going to talk about the other very famous John from USA who set a record in your Olympics? John Taylor. Do you know about him?
Yes, that was going to be the guy I was going to close with.
Oh, sorry, sorry, Jamie. I apologize.
No, don't
jump the gun here, Ben.
I will not take away from you, Jamie. I thought you were just a very racist man, but
John Taylor, also one of the people that refused to rerun the 400 again with those British officials. The first African American athlete to win a gold medal on the medley relay team. Unfortunately, a month and a half after the Olympics, he died of typhoid fever.
Damn. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not a great, not quite a Disney movie. But
didn't want to take away from that because I think we talk. Wasn't St. Louis where we did have our first non-white medalists, but they weren't American, were they? I think we talked about.
I think they were South African.
Yeah.
Am I imagining that?
Yeah. I know we've talked about our first non-white medalists, but I think you might have corrected me because I might have called them African American when they weren't American. So yeah. But I mean that's like 1908 to have that. That's a pretty big deal. Very different time.
I think African American athletes were definitely already making their mark in like collegiate American football, but it was mostly in the Northeast, obviously not in the South where, Alabama, LSU, teams like that weren't integrated to like the 70s, if you can believe that. But track and field was kind of like the just common, the time determines who makes the team. So track and field was kind of the sport that non-white people could kind of compete in because it's like, who's fastest? It's just you and the clock.
And I read,
it's not politics. It's not anything like that.
You obviously touched on that he was meant to be in that 400 meter, but I read that he was like the far and away favorite to win gold in the 400 meters before obviously US withdrew from that. So, I mean, not to disparage winning a medal in a relay, but I mean, very much should have won a gold in an individual event too, from what it sounds like.
Also, they should bring back the medley relay. I think that would be really exciting in the Olympics.
What is a medley in track and field? Like, what do you do in
the distance medley is a 1600, a 1200, an 800, and a 400. And the sprint medley, I believe, is a 8, a 4, maybe an 8, a 2, a 4, and a 2.
That's awesome.
I'm not. Yeah, no.
I didn't know that was a thing. I was expecting like you run a leg, then you throw a javelin, you pole vault, and you.
Oh no, yeah,
tug of war. But that's awesome. That's actually very clever. I like that idea.
Big deal at the Penn Relays, which is a pretty famous historic track meet in the United States. Like that, like the DMR and the SMR are big deal.
There you go, Colin. Fix your hatred of your mixed relays with your genders and do it with the mixed distances. There you go. Problem solved.
So for Canada. These were the most successful games to Canadians. We hit double digits for medals. Robert Kerr was the big Canadian star for this. Now, Robert Kerr, I don't think he's nearly as interesting as Tom Longboat, who didn't even medal in this, but still he ends up winning the gold in the 200 meters, wins the bronze in the 100 meters. So he almost, Usain Bolted. But the most interesting thing about him is that he was born in Ireland, but he moved to Canada when he was 5. But this may be one of the earliest times where a nation declares somebody as their own, even though they're not, because he basically had the type of crowd support that most of the British athletes had during these London games, despite the fact he was Canadian, just because he was born in Ireland. So he was like a crowd favorite there, which might have helped him in those two distances. He didn't compete in any other Olympics after this, but he did go on to work as an official, though. So I don't know if that was actually on an organizing committee or something like that, or if he was, an actual timing official or something like that. But technically, his Olympic career does stretch beyond the ones he competed in, because in 1928 and 1932, he was still actually there and present as an actual official for the Olympic organization or the Canadian Olympic Association, whatever it would be. The main thing with him is he's from Hamilton, Ontario, which is him and Tom Longboat both were from Hamilton. So there was something in the water in Hamilton, Ontario that was really driving our runners in 1908. Australia, Ben?
I want to correct myself first of all, and this is a rare occasion that I will do this and say these following words. Apologies to New Zealand. I said all our medals were won by Australians. They weren't. We did have one medal won for Australasia by a New Zealander. Harry Kerr won the bronze in the 3,500 meter walk. So apologies, New Zealand. There you go. I'll take that back. But screw you. You only won medal. You suck. So the rest were won by Australians. Our gold was won by our rugby team, as I mentioned. The only time Australia's ever won a gold medal in any form of football at the Olympic Games. Smacked the English team. So suck at England. But our other medalists. Now, first of all, Frank Beaurepaire, who was 17 at these Olympics. He won a silver in the 400 meter freestyle in swimming and a bronze in the 1,500 meter freestyle. He apparently was ridiculously sick during these games, which prevented him from going on to win gold. But this was the start of his career, go on to win 6 medals in total all the way up into 1924, but never ultimately won a gold. But I want to talk about Snowy Baker. Now, this guy, you know about Snowy?
I was going to leave him for the Canuck in the room.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah, go for it.
He might be a cult hero chance here for the Bulgy, because he won a silver medal in boxing in the middleweight, which sounds pretty impressive. But he didn't only compete in boxing, he also competed in swimming and diving as well as boxing. But he's apparently regarded as one of the greatest multi-sport athletes in the history of Australia and the world. This guy was brilliant in other sports, including rugby union, where he represented Australia in this sport. He also was good in horsemanship, water polo, running, rowing, and cricket. And he was also an actor and a boxing promoter. He moved to LA and starred in great movies such as The Man from Kangaroo, The Jackaroo of Coolabong, The White Panther, Fighter's Paradise, The Kid from Texas. This guy went from a man from Kangaroo to the Kid from Texas. He had range. And just an esteemed career where he'd also get involved in boxing and promoting. He taught, you want to know who he taught in horse riding? He taught Elizabeth Taylor, Shirley Temple, Greta Garbo. These are the names that he was good enough to work with and how good he was. And he's an Olympic silver medalist from the London Olympics. So this guy, an icon. We need to talk about Snowy Baker. His real name was Reginald Leslie Snowy Baker. There's a name for you. I love this man. Silver medalist at the London Olympics.
He also starred in a movie called Big City with Spencer Tracy, a comedy western that also starred Olympians Jim Thorpe and Frank Wyckoff, who ran on the 4x100 team in Berlin with Jesse Owens.
There you go. Look at that. Look at him throwing his paper. Drop, Mike.
Note drop.
And look at the picture of him on Wikipedia. Like, I know people look different in like the 1900s. This guy's a good-looking rooster. He's got the chest pecs out there. He's got the blonde hair. If he was in bulge, if he was in Nazi Germany, he was safe. Like, I mean, this guy is like the what Hitler was looking for. Let's be honest. I mean, Jesus, this guy is wow.
Our underdogs. So Durando Pietri is, coming up over and over again with these Olympics. Basically became a superstar overnight, even though he lost because essentially somebody helped him. You do wonder with the lead he had, if he had just given himself 30 extra seconds to breathe, does he go on to win this thing? Who knows?
We all need 30 seconds extra to breathe.
It's funny, in this book I won't shut up about, they said that a lot of the justification for people helping them is because people were so lacking in knowledge of like what could happen at the end of a marathon, an event literally named after a guy that died at the end of his run. Like they were terrified that he was going to die on the track in front of British royalty there. And they were like, all right, we got to get him off the track because he can't die in front of the Queen and the Duchess of Epstein or whatever, you know,
Duchess of Epstein.
Wow, Hitler and Epstein.
I found that
so
interesting that, like, you know, because, you know, now, like, I can't imagine that. Like, you literally have to be like spitting blood, like, to have someone help you at the end of a marathon.
Yes.
Underdogs. Do we have any other ones we want to mention? I've got one where I don't know if I want to call him an underdog. I think he's more just like an unsung hero. But the 100-meter winner was South Africa's first ever gold medalist, Reggie Walker. The interesting story about him is that just in preparation, kind of like, I think we mentioned this, I can't remember who it was before. No, I think it was that Canadian, Billy Shearing, where he decided he was going to go there the year before to train and everything like that, but he didn't have enough money. So he basically was sponsored by a sports writer who just collected, like, you know, almost like an early GoFundMe thing. You know, we want to get this South African out there to the Olympics. Got there a year before the Olympics and was actually coached by, if I mispronounce his name, Sam Musabini, Sam Musabini, who was a character. That was the character that Ian Holm played in Chariots of Fire, because he would later go on to coach the Abrahams, one of the Chariots of Fire guys. Was coached by him. And basically, a lot of the top runners didn't advance in this in the early heats, but he did, and he went on to win the 100 meters. Won it at the age of 19, which to this day still makes him the youngest medalist ever in the 100-meter.
Which, on that, I wanted to touch on one on the opposite end of the spectrum, Oscar Swan from Sweden. Now, he won a gold medal at these games. He was 60 years old at the time, which was the record for oldest Olympian to ever win a gold medal until 4 years later when he also won a gold medal. So we'll talk about him probably more at home in Stockholm in 4 years' time. But he won this in the running deer shooting event. Now, I had to look this up. Not a real deer. It was a movable deer type apparatus with like targets.
Like the fake rabbit that horses chase on a track.
I was so disappointed.
Me too. I was like looking this up so closely, going like, running deer. I don't remember hearing about this in the history books, but he then also not only we'll talk about him in 4 years' time, but also got to remember in Antwerp, if we can remember him, he was 72 years old and still competed in those games. And still the oldest Olympian of all time. So this guy was 60 when he won his first gold, and he's still going to go on to win another gold in 4 years' time. So Oscar Swain of Sweden.
I think he should get his own award.
He should, the old fart award.
For every Olympics for the old fogey.
Yeah. We're really going to dig into the history books. Who's the oldest Olympian? You just want to say that so when you qualify for the Olympics, you'll be the oldest, basically. Is that you want to win an award?
Don't hold. The only way that's going to happen is that they bring back running deer shooting. So
well, I'm looking for Jeu de Paume to come back, and then who won Jeu de? Should we talk about who won Jeu de Paume? Can I just bring that up quickly? The
American who won.
I know that, but like I want to talk about him more. Like, come on, like I mean, and also the who else? Like, celebrate Jeu de Paume. We're never going to talk about it again.
Well, Ben's looking it up. Do you have any underdogs you want to throw out there, Jimmy?
No, Snowy Baker was the guy I wanted to talk about. I don't know if he qualifies as an underdog, but he was. There's one I want to bring up. Again, is this underdog or sort of unsung hero? He was a very rich guy who had a lot of time on his hands and hobbies. But William Dodd was one of the British competitors. Yeah, you knew him too.
Jamie's got a lot of light bulbs going off in his head. Oh, that guy! Oh, the Lindbergh baby. That's it.
Well, William Dodd. 2 years before, 1906, at the age of 39, he decides to pick up a bow and arrow for the first time in his life and learn archery. 2 years later, goes on to win at these Olympics, winning it on his 41st birthday. He basically grew up as a hunter and a golfer, and then this is sort of like some of those people in the 1896 games, like, maybe I'll compete. Like, I'm going to pick up a bow and arrow. Maybe I'll go to the Olympics. He's rich. He's white. Why not? He goes there, wins the gold medal, winning actually we want to talk about bad weather conditions. Events definitely would have been canceled today. The first day, there's a torrential downpour. It's just like raining cats and dogs. He's in the lead on day one. Day two, massive wind gusts. He wins on day two. He goes on to win the gold medal. Basically retires from the sport after that because he goes back to golfing and hunting.
Which, as you did in like 1908, basically. That's all you
I will take that Dodd and I will raise you a Dodd.
Oh, double
His
Dodd.
Oh, yeah, another
sister
Dodd.
Lillian. His
Oh, yeah,
sister
yeah.
Lillian medaled. So is this perhaps the first ever Olympics with siblings?
Brother,
Am I
sister, for sure.
forgetting someone? A first ever siblings medaling at an Olympics?
I feel. Did we not talk
We
about
might
other
have talked
siblings?
about there was the shooting brothers, remember?
Yeah.
Where the one brother shot the other brother.
Oh,
But I don't
just
remember if
siblings
they
of
both-
different genders.
Yeah,
Brother and sister.
but I don't know if the other brother medaled. Maybe he shot him because he didn't medal. I can't remember. But yeah, like brother and sister medaling in the exact same sport. Yeah, that's big. Because it was the same thing with the sister. She just decided around the same time he did, 2 years out from the Olympics. Let's try archery.
It's like those Paralympic skiers.
When's that going to happen? When's that going to happen again? A brother and sister medaling. The Haydens is the only one I can think of. The speed skaters, Beth and Eric in 1980. But I feel like there's like Australian swimmers or something like.
Not
Campbell's.
brother and sister. The Campbells have a podcast now, by the way, Colin. Just discovered that the other day. It's called We Suck. No, it's not really. Sorry, Campbells.
We're drowning the Campbell sisters.
I'm not to disparage the Campbell sisters, Ben. Get over that joke. It's 10 years old. I was thinking more of the Austrian Paralympic skiers that we just talked about during Milano Cortina as brother and sister.
Oh, yeah.
But no, not. There's obviously famous ones out there. Jeu de Paume, can I just quickly? There were 11 players in Jeu de Paume. All of them were British except for two, American, Mr. Gould, and another American who went out in the first round, Charles Edward Sands. But I just want to tell you the silver and bronze medalists. If I didn't tell you they were British, you would be able to guess they were British based on their names. We had, and I'll say this with my braces, this will turn out well, Eustace Miles, silver medalist in Jeu de Paume, and Neville Bulwer-Lytton. Like, I mean, again, ChatGPT said, give me a British name. That's basically what you pile on there. But Jeu de Paume, bring it back, I say.
The next couple sections we've mostly talked about, so if anybody has anything to interject, otherwise we can kind of move along here. The controversies, we talked about the marathon with Pietri getting lifted up, the flag tipping from the U.S. team during the opening ceremonies, the boxing, Ben, you'd mentioned with both the boxing and the wrestling, the bias towards the British, the Irish athletes having to compete under Great Britain. Any other big controversies that either you want to touch on?
No.
No, good.
Yeah, no, I think that's
story you may not know. So this is actually a good one that you kind of alluded towards a little bit, Ben, but the mixed teams. So this isn't mixed gender teams. This is like, we're going to have people from one country joining people from another country. So it was gone after this because I don't know, is it something to do with like how divided the countries became?
I think it's more that it was those earlier Olympics where it was a lot more higgledy-piggledy on the fact that, we didn't have qualification. It was just rock up, where are you from? We'd obviously talked a lot about certain athletes were, I mean, how many Canadians do we have that were competing for other countries and, sort of retroactively being found out that you're from a country even though you're competing for another. I think it more came down to the fact that this is when things were starting to get organized. This is where we had national Olympic committees. This is where we had structure of who you will compete for. So I think kind of it just went by the wayside, whereas these early Olympics, it was, if you had a team with 3 Canadians, 2 Americans, a Brit, that was just a mixed team. Whereas now it's like, no, you can't do that. You touched on it before too, where it was also a case of selections where we're not just going to send the, Winnipeg lacrosse team. We're going to actually find the best players from the rest of the country, essentially. So, as far as I'm aware, that's kind of, just comes down to the structure and the more organized level of people representing their countries rather than just showing up and going, oh, yeah, I was born in Ireland, so I guess I'll compete for them.
The top medal winners, so correction here again, I said Mel Shepherd was only the 2, so no, Mel Shepherd does tie for Henry Taylor, 3 gold medals in 1 games. So they're the top 2 ones here. Ben Jones from Great Britain, 2 golds and 1 silver for cycling. Oscar Swan.
He won 3
Swain,
medals. He ended up winning 3. Yeah, I'm talking he only won 1, but he won 3. Yeah.
Oscar Swan or Swain from Sweden, 2 golds, 1 bronze in shooting. Martin Sheridan, 2 golds and 1 bronze in athletics. The Now, here's where it gets a little bit lopsided. The overall medal standings. Great Britain, 56 gold, 51 silver, 39 bronze, 146 medals overall. How many of those were judge sports would be my question. United States, the next closest, with a third of the overall medals, but 23 gold, 12 silver, 12 bronze. Sweden was 8 gold, 6 silver, 11 bronze, 25 overall. The only other countries that actually have double digits for going overall medals are France with 19, Germany with 13, Canada with 16. But for gold medals, after Great Britain, United States, Sweden, goes France, Germany, Hungary, Canada, Norway, Italy, Belgium. What was Australia's medal total here? 1 gold, 2 silver, 2 bronze.
Yeah.
11th. Just miss out on the top 10 then.
Which can we just obviously allude to the fact that, I mean, obviously this was the only time Britain ever topped the medal table and the only time in their history that they've ever got triple-digit total medals for obvious reasons. I mean, if you look sort of their next best, so they get 146 total. And you reckon you'd have to fast forward probably to London, wouldn't you, in 2012? They got 65 in 2012, 67 in Rio is their next highest after 100. So that's more than double their next highest. Goes to show how slightly rigged they may have been for them.
Yeah. Other countries that we mentioned it won for the first time. I mentioned South Africa, obviously winning the first one, the 100 meter. There was Sweden's first ever gold and silver medals in this, Norway's first gold, and it wasn't in cross country and it wasn't in biathlon. Look what they can do. Australasia's first ever medals, Russia's first ever medals, Finland's first ever medals. So a lot of firsts right here. Australia, we went over those standings, 1 gold, 2 silver, 1 bronze, 11th overall. United States, 23, 12, the second overall. Canada, 7th overall. Top medal winners from each country. We mentioned Mel Shepherd, or at least Ben and I did, because Jamie doesn't know who he is. 3 golds. Canada, we had Robert Kerr. And then George Beatty had 2 silvers in the shooting. Gordon Balfour, 2 bronze for the rowing. And Beecher Gale, 2 bronze for rowing. And Australia, Frank Beaurepaire. Did I pronounce it right? Beaurepaire?
Yeah, that's about right.
Thank you. So that was it for Australia. But what was New Zealand's?
What was it, a bronze?
1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, I mean, first ever medal. I didn't spend time in New Zealand during an Olympic game, so I don't know if, I mean, they'd have to classify him as their first ever Olympic medalist, but it's that weird level of it came under the Australasian flag. I mean, so I would assume, I don't know retroactively if they consider that as a medalist for New Zealand. Yeah, it's kind of a grey area.
What I was getting at is you counted 4 New Zealand athletes or 3?
3. 1 competed for Britain.
33.3% of their athletes medaled.
Yeah, well, we had 100% of our athletes back in like 1896 and 1900. So suck it, New Zealand.
Here's the fun part, the awards. So first, let's start with the athlete of the games, the Michael Phelps Award. I mean, this is one that Pietri can't win. I don't think. We have Mel Shepherd we talked about. We have Henry Taylor. Are we going to go with an obvious one here?
I mean, we've not given one to Ray Urey, have we? I mean, he's still won 2 gold at these games.
Yeah, like I think that's. I almost remember one of the earlier ones, somebody saying, you know what, we're going to have another shot at Ray Urey. So that's a really good, solid pitch.
I mean, it's sort of like, I feel that this is that level where, yeah, the obvious one is to always go for the one who wins the most medals. But I mean, it's also a case of like, you know, are you really going to put Usain Bolt out of the equation one year when he wins 3 gold versus somebody who might win 5 gold, you know, not to take away from whoever it is that year, but it's sort of like, you got to also, I think, look at it. And okay, maybe you might argue it's like the Oscar argument, like, oh, they're only winning that for sort of a career award rather than the actual movie they're in. But I mean, I can't imagine that we've got Ray Urey leaving with 8 gold medals in his career and he's never won an athlete of the game.
And to be honest, people are going to remember Michael Phelps for Rio. Yeah. You know, that's not the only thing he's remembered for, but that's the end of his career. And even though that was the only time where he didn't have the same level of success that they were, Andre DeGrasse, you know, for Canada, people are probably going to think about his 1 medal in Paris, maybe even over anything that he did in Tokyo. Maybe not as much as Rio, but yeah, I think that it's a very good pitch. Jamie, do you have any ones you want to throw out?
I can't believe after how much I've taught you both about Mel Shepherd, we wouldn't make Mel Shepherd the athlete of the game.
Yeah,
I kind of like Ray Yuri. I kind of like.
I'm baffled, but I'm good with Yuri.
Oh, he's come around on Yuri. Good on you. Good on you.
And it probably was Jamie who said, "If we, I don't know if we could dig it up.
As long as it goes to a track and field guy, I'm fine."
I mean,
there we go.
Look at this again. We're 5 Olympics in, and 4 of them have been track and field athletes. So there you go. And 3 of them have been American. There you go.
Well, let's break it up for the best host
moment. We're fucking bullies. What do you want?
Best host moment.
I like mine would be. I just like this stadium that they just hosted everything in it. I mean, you probably would argue it probably should be the whole marathon thing, given that set a standard for the marathon distance. But I kind of like this notion that they built a stadium. What do you say, like 9 months, 10 months, whatever the fuck it was.
10 months.
And it held like 20 different sports, and it stood to like the 80s. I mean, that's a pretty solid. I mean, it set the tone for a stadium, not to take away from the great Athens stadiums.
And it is as far as I know, the only stadium that the Pogues ever wrote a song about.
I mean,
I saw that trivia as well.
Does that not seal it?
Because like my pitch for the marathon would have been, I guess, more of a legacy thing with using Windsor Castle, a landmark, which is something that is done in every marathon now, it seems. But yeah, that stadium. Like, in a weird way, that stadium is the single most memorable and epic thing about these games.
If we're happy, all right. The versatility of the stadium.
Yeah, White City Stadium. Resourcefulness.
Does White City Stadium stick around till 48?
No, because Wembley had it in 1948. Because London doesn't.
But did they have anything there?
Are you talking about in general? Was it used, or are you talking about did it exist in
for the Olympics?
I thought I saw that the only the where they did the shooting, and then if you take the Henley Regatta course on the Thames for rowing, were the only ones that got used again. But I'm just wondering what happened. Why didn't they use White City? They must have used it for something.
It was used in the 1966 World Cup for soccer.
For one game. I was so excited, and then I was like, oh, no, there's no way the final was there. The final was at Wembley, duh.
Because London's like Paris, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it? That 3 Olympics, but 3 different stadiums, whereas like LA are going to be the first to use the one 3 times. So, yeah.
I thought I saw it here, but it's actually White Hart Lane is the stadium for football in 48. So, yeah, they don't go back to White City for the Olympics.
They love their whites, the Brits. White City, White Hart, racist.
All right, where are we up to here? Story of these games turned into a movie. I want to steer away from the marathon on this one because we talked about like the first female this, first female that. I'm shocked that the first female figure skating event at the Olympics that there isn't some movie tied to the woman who basically made female figure skating a thing because she was beating all the men when other women weren't competing.
We've not talked about, I mean, pretty big deal that figure skating was part of these Olympics, isn't it? Yeah.
We put the pitch out there for the tennis, the first tennis medalist, I think, but I don't think we picked it.
I mean, I'd be fine with that. I mean, the other one obviously is John being the first African-American gold medalist, and kind of you could argue the 400-meter race is a movie in itself, right? Like the whole drama and all that kind of stuff. Judging in general, like it could just be like a US versus Britain movie, fuck you, America. So yeah, I mean, all valid options. I don't know who has a more stronger pitch for them. No one?
I like the figure skating. I like the figure skating angle.
All right.
No.
It's something you
sires.
Yeah. When are you going to see a movie on figure skating that takes place in the Summer Olympics too?
That is a very solid point, Colin Hilding. Well done. So we're going to give it to Madge. What a name, Madge. Sure, more people should be called Madge. Madge Sires of Britain. Figure skating. There you go. Look
and
at
that leaves us with the Bulgy, who is our cult hero.
Noe Baker.
I threw out Tom Longboat, which I think the only thing with Tom Longboat is that the most interesting part of his story is what happens after these Olympics, not necessarily at the Olympics. What was yours, Ben?
Snowy Baker. I mean, the way I was looking him up, I'm kind of like, surely this guy has a movie made about him. Like, it just sort of like it seemed like somebody who you think he should have one. But I mean, no, I'm voting for him. I think that's a great story with everything that came afterwards and the Olympics. I mean, he's Olympic silver medalist. Come on, this is 3 events, 3 different sports he was competing. We love these multi-sport people, right?
Yeah, I'm on board with Snowy Baker.
Yay, Snowy! And his name's Snowy.
Just like Tintin's dog.
Yeah. Come on.
I do see a picture here of a pretty big bulge in one of his full body shots too. So I think it's going to be Snowy.
Just pointing that out there. That technically, look, the 3-letter country code for Australasia was ANZ, funnily enough, Australia and New Zealand. So I have to technically put him as ANZ because, he was representing that country. So unfortunately, Australia still hasn't got one in a weird way. But so I guess I have to put him as his sports as boxing, track and field, and swimming. Right? Was that was his 3? Was it? Yeah. Crazy. Diving. Sorry, swimming, diving, and boxing. Look at that. Swimming, diving. So he joins Launceston Elliott, Peter Leikerberg, Felix Carvajal, and Demetrius Tofalos as our bulgy winners. Bulgy men. Bulgy.
When are we going to get a woman bulge?
Woman bulgy.
Let's not talk about boxing.
They've been banned from the Olympics, so they're not allowed to.
Yeah. Legacy, final thoughts. I just want to say first, I think one of the biggest legacies here is London as a location and why they don't go back there every 20 years. I'm shocked because we're about to talk about another London Olympics, well, maybe we did talk about it first. I don't know what the order these are airing in. But the London 2012 London Games, we just talked about the 48 games and everything. It feels like London probably should have even had an Olympics by this point, and we're only a little over a decade into it. So yeah, London as a whole as an Olympic host city. But then the other things like what I just mentioned about the landmark location for a marathon. And then the judging too, lopsided judging. That's another thing you could throw out there.
So this isn't me interrupting you, Jamie. I just want to add one thing though that you say, and that's a good point about London, is that 2012 was the first time we ever had a 3-time Olympic host. And if off the top of my head, they were also the first 2-time. No, Paris would have been the first 2-time host. But they went on to become the first 3-time host. So, that's pretty significant. This started that because, I'm sure there was a period of time where the IOC probably never would have dreamt of having 3-time hosts back when they were really trying to spread the Olympics out around the world. Why would we have a 3-time host? Because you think about the 2-time hosts, it took after London and Paris, it wasn't until LA that we had a 2-time host, was it? So it's sort of like they spread it around the world before revisiting
in
cities. Summer. Thank you. No, good point there, Jamie. So yeah, I think that's an important one. The legacy of that as a host city is a good one.
Kind of a bummer of one, because definitely there were people dating back to even 1896, but you look at, this is the first Olympics where a significant amount of the athletes that competed were going to lose them in a world war. Mm-hmm. 43 1908 Olympians are going to die in World War I, 29 British. And, there are some from 1904, 1900 and 1896, but I was like, it's just like kind of, brought home the reality of like what we're going to be talking about. I don't know, how are we going to do that? Are we going to, do we figure out how we're going to handle the Olympics that get skipped?
I think we're going to do that episode after Berlin. I think we're just going to combine them all. So I think from memory, we're just going to skip from Stockholm to Antwerp. But we will lump rather than doing 2 separate ones. We'll just lump in the the missed games of 1916 and then 40 and 44.
Not to end on a somber note.
Do we lump? This is a question without notice, but like, do you feel it's different to these ones? I feel when we say like these were meant to be the Rome games and they went to London, but I feel almost like we lump in 76 and Denver into the missed Olympics because that is I mean, the argument could
maybe that's like a 25-minute episode.
Maybe because I mean I watched a very fascinating little 30-minute documentary thing that somebody recently did in the lead up to Milano Cortina about that. There's some amazing stories around that I feel we need to have an opportunity to talk about. I mean, we can always just add an extra half an hour to our 76 one if we want to, but I mean, I think like the stuff around it. So I mean, there's an argument off air. Is that in the missed Olympics episode, or is that just in the 76, or is it just a bonus one? But I feel that needs to be talked about because it's very fascinating. I think, what you guys have touched on, I think as we touched on 1906 really being that precursor to the opening ceremony and the flags and that sort of stuff. But I mean, given this is the first officially recognized one that's important. And even when you were talking about things like mixed team and all that kind of stuff, Colin, like, I mean, it as I said at the beginning, it's transitional. Like we're seeing so many things that we're starting still and that we're really going to be locked and loaded in. And even, we kind of just downplayed it a little bit, but I mean, even the thing of 100 meters, 200 meters, like, I mean, I often think like, why does the US run the 100 meters when you don't use the metric system? Like it's one of these quirks of the system that they still use to this day, if that makes sense. So like, it's kind of little things like that where you take for granted what you have. And even just the stadium, like, I mean, God damn, like, I mean, that's a pretty crazy thing to what they did with that. So, I mean, it's not, we're really getting calmer now with our Olympics, aren't we, compared to what we had in 1900 and 1904. Thanks to 1906, the intercalated games, they did it for us. But, I feel we're really now in that period of standardizing things. And while there's still controversies and, the Brits rigged it a lot and kind of all those sort of things, I think it was a pretty solid and pretty groundbreaking. And the last time we have to talk about a games lasting this long as well. So, I mean, maybe that's a legacy as well. The last Olympics that weren't in a, 2-3 week period. So, yeah.
And that'll bring us to the next one in Stockholm, which is very exciting for, I think, two things. One talking serious, exciting. One talking, I can't wait to read the funny stories about this. Serious, exciting. We're going to get women in the pool for the first time ever. So we're really expanding the female events. Funny, exciting. Art. Olympic art.
Yes. Here we go. The real sports are starting.
This is where all those things we always joke about. Now we actually get to do the research to find out about it. I mean, but Stockholm is where I think, even though I don't think it's quite remembered at the level as the last couple we've talked about, it is weird that might be the first proper Olympic Games where it's like, we're not flying by the seat of our pants anymore. We're actually planning these things.
Also, 1912, Stockholm, the first time that Avery Brundage enters the vernacular of
to say his name.
The Olympics. So
come on,
just don't say it 3 times.
It's I'm excited to learn a little bit more about it. And it's got one of the most beautiful posters of the Olympics. Like if you don't,
a real poster too.
It's gorgeous. Like this is such a stunning poster, and it's like. I feel this is one of those. We're getting into that period. I feel the next few. Or at least 3 of the next 4 are kind of cities that you often forget are Olympic cities. So like Stockholm, Amsterdam, and Antwerp are kind of those 3 that often are forgotten about. And I would lump in Helsinki in the 50s as well. That you kind of think of these, big cities that have hosted the Olympics. But I mean, get to Antwerp, my love of that. But like, it's just sort of Stockholm is an Olympic city, and you would assume it was a winter city, but it's not. Like so. And they nearly did. They should have had the Olympics this year in 2026, if you remember. They went up against Milano Cortina. But I'm looking forward to it. I've got Swedish heritage, so bit of family blood.
All right.
Bring out the Swedes. I'm looking forward to getting all ABBA in here. So let's go.
And just to tease one little bit, as of the next one in Stockholm, we will have our first president of the IOC Olympic medalist too. So. just a bit of a tease there. That'll be fun.
So,
but
1976 fencing or doctor.
But that's coming in how many months, Ben?
Several. No, we obviously, we record these all in advance, but generally if people need updates on how we do these, once a month on a Monday, the first Monday of every month, will either be a games review or an opening ceremony review, essentially. So we alternate. So obviously you've got this happening this month, and then our next one will be a opening ceremony review, which this is kind of the first time we get to announce this, even though you would already know this by now because you would have heard our previous Salt Lake City one, but we decided that we are going to do Montreal 1976 just as a nod to the 50th anniversary of Montreal. So that was one of these ones where we just said, like, look, we feel we should celebrate 50 years of Montreal, and we've done that one. So next month you will hear Montreal, followed in the following month by Stockholm 1912, and other great interviews and episodes happening in between then as well.
And if you've enjoyed the 1970s opening ceremonies, we haven't. That's all I can say. So I can't.
You don't know that yet. 1976, they bankrupted your country for like 50 years. You better bloody like it.
Alternatively, we also got interviews happening as well. So listen for any of that. And Jamie, yes, go, Ducks!
Sorry, I'm literally like dating this by saying that I'm 2.5 minutes away from seeing the Anaheim Ducks eliminate the Edmonton Oilers in the first fucking round of the Stanley Cup. Suck it, McJesus! You come into the living gold and you're going out in the first round of the playoffs. Woo!
I can't believe I'm not watching it, and you are.
5-2 with 2.5 minutes to go. Come on.
Jamie, thank you for teaching us what Jamie Lyko would do.
You're welcome.
It's
Anytime.
great. If you're listening to this, seriously, go to the YouTube and he's got a great jumper on. Sweater, sorry. What would Jimmy Carter do? I don't know. I'd like to know, but he's dead.
And
we'll talk about it in like 17 years when we get to the 1980 Olympics.
Ben, I really have to commend you. Your S's have gotten beautiful throughout this episode. This is all you needed.
I was told when I got these on, they were like, oh, we recommend to talk a lot to get used to it. I'm like, well, A, you don't really have to ask me to talk a lot. But B, I live by myself and I don't talk to myself that much. So I actually cancelled an interview I meant to do last night to postpone it while I get used to this. This was the first episode I've done with them. And it's surprisingly been not as bad as I was thinking. So this is the last one I will do before I get my jaw split open. So next time I might be completely different, but hey, it was fun while I had a normal jaw while it lasted.
To end this off, I got to find something with a lot of S. Oh, there we go. So if you'd enjoyed this episode, my name has been Oscar Thwain. And if you haven't, it's been Noah Groves.